Chapter 241. Congratulations on the kill. The closer he got, the more intense the scorching heat in the air became. When he rushed to the feet of the Mist Rock Titan, he noticed that it was standing in place, motionless. Wu Di jumped directly, and when he stood on the shoulders of the Mist Rock Titan, he finally saw the scene before him clearly. A crater over 3 meters in diameter had been blasted into the head of the Mist Rock Titan, and red magma was slowly flowing down the walls of the crater. However, what made Wu Di's expression change drastically was that the shattered rock fragments were actually converging back toward the crater at a speed visible to the naked eye. The originally damaged head was repairing itself bit by bit. Damn it, it can still recover. Wu Di immediately opened the team channel. While controlling his mech and smashing his iron fist frantically at the Mist Rock Titan's healing head, he roared, "Lin Shi, tell Xiao Shi to continue the attack. Aim for the same spot." "Big brother Wu Di." Lin Shi's anxious voice came through the channel. "Xiao Shi says the cooldown time for the Heaven's Punishment electromagnetic railgun is 90 seconds. If we force continuous firing, it will burn out the superconducting magnetic cage and cause irreversible, permanent damage." Wu Di punched into the magma, and the scalding liquid splashed onto his mech's armor, making a sizzling sound. But his attacks couldn't keep up with the Mist Rock Titan's recovery speed at all. Seeing that the crater was about to be filled again, he gritted his teeth and said decisively, "Forget it! Full-speed fire in 2 seconds!" After saying this, he leaped backward violently, jumping out of the Mist Rock Titan's attack range. The next second, a continuous series of dull, loud noises came from the direction of the RV. Boom, boom, boom! One crimson meteor after another continuously tore through the black fog, precisely hitting the same spot on the Mist Rock Titan's head. The roar of the electromagnetic cannon echoed in the air, making one's eardrums ache. Waves of scorching heat surged over one after another, dispelling quite a bit of the surrounding black fog. Wu Di stood in the distance, quietly watching the sky dyed red by the firelight. I don't know how much time passed, but the firing finally stopped. Lin Shi's voice, filled with surprise and trembling, came through the channel. "Big brother Wu Di, Xiao Shi says, the biological signal of the Mist Rock Titan has completely disappeared. It's dead." The heart Wu Di had been keeping in his throat finally settled completely. He let out a long sigh of relief. Just then, a heaven-shaking, earth-shattering roar came from the black fog. The sound was louder than any previous explosion, as if an entire mountain had collapsed. Wu Di immediately controlled his mech and moved at full speed toward the direction the sound came from. When he arrived, he only saw a scene of devastation on the ground. The Mist Rock Titan's massive 80-meter-tall body had completely collapsed onto the road. Wu Di followed the Mist Rock Titan's torso all the way to its head position. At this moment, its head had completely vanished, leaving only a bare neck. Dark red magma was still flowing from the stump, but this time there were no signs of any healing. "What's going on?" Wu Di frowned, feeling somewhat puzzled. No system notification, and it hasn't disappeared either. Could it be that there's no loot this time? He had just wanted to reach out and try to salvage it when the huge rock mountain before him suddenly began to slowly become transparent. Countless points of light drifted out from its body, merging into the surrounding black fog. In just a few seconds, that behemoth weighing 8,000 tons completely vanished into thin air. In its place, only a jet-black supply crate with patterns flowing across its surface remained, lying quietly at Wu Di's feet. Wu Di bent down and reached out to collect this special supply crate into his personal space. After identifying the direction, he walked quickly toward the RV. When he approached within 10 meters of the RV, Wu Di deactivated Titan's wrath. He saw the 4 women standing in unison by the vehicle door, looking in his direction. Lin Yue was the first to rush over, stumbling into his arms and crying loudly. "Big brother Wu Di, Wu, you scared me to death just now. I was so worried about you." The young girl's body was shaking violently, and her tears soaked Wu Di's lapels. Lin Shi, Su Wanwan, and Shu Kexen also walked over one after another, surrounding him. Shukexen looked at Woody, swallowed, and her voice trembled slightly. Boss, did you really fight that monster just now? Are you still human? Woody gently patted Lin Yu's back, soothing her trembling body. He raised his head and looked at Lin Shi and Su Wanwan, whose eyes were full of worry. His voice carried a hint of exhaustion but was exceptionally firm. I'm fine. He looked again into the depths of the black fog that was still churning ceaselessly, his gaze deep. It's over. Let's go inside first. At this moment, the immense sense of oppression that had been lingering in his heart all day had completely vanished. He knew that they should be safe for tonight. Lin Yu finally calmed down at this point and immediately backed out of Wu Di's arms with a flushed face. But she still held onto Wu Di's arm tightly, refusing to let go. Shukexen leaned over and said with a wink, Xiaoyu, it's my turn now. I want boss to carry me bridal style too. I was so scared just now that my legs went soft, and I can't walk. Although Lin Yu's face was beet red, she had no intention of letting go at all. Instead, she hugged Wu Di's arm even tighter. Stop fooling around, let's go in. Wu Di shook his head helplessly, pulled Lin Yui, and was the first to walk onto the RV. As soon as they entered the carriage, Xiaoxi's voice rang out. This time, there was a hint of obvious concern in her voice. Commander, congratulations on successfully killing the Mist Rock Titan. Wu Di was stunned for a moment, then smiled. Xiaoxi, you are becoming more and more like a real person. Thank you for the compliment, Commander. There seemed to be a hint of an imperceptible smile in Xiaoxi's voice. Commander, next time you can grant me operational authorization for the Titan's Wrath mech. Within radar range, I can maintain real-time voice communication with you and provide you with battlefield data analysis and tactical advice. Wu Di was stunned again, then nodded. All right, let's not talk about this for now. Commander, do you need to continue moving forward? No need, Xiaoxi. Wu Di shook his head. Let's stop here for today. Understood, Commander. Subsequently, Wu Di took the jet-black supply crate with patterns on its surface out of his personal space, placed it on the coffee table, looked at Lin Shi and said, This is the loot from just now. You open it. Boss. Shukexen immediately leaned over, but before she could finish speaking, she saw the look Wu Di gave her. She immediately shrank her neck and raised her hands. I'm fine. I'll just watch. No talking. No talking. Chapter 242. Kill and Loot. Lin Yu chuckled and began winking and gesturing meaningfully at Shukexen. Shukexen leaned in close to Lin Yu, wrapped her arm tightly around her neck, planted a kiss on her cheek, and said with a mischievous grin, Since the boss isn't going to enjoy it, I will. Lin Yu's cheeks turned bright red from the kiss. She reached out to push Shukexen away, and the two of them began to mess around. Xiaoye, Lin Shi called out softly, shaking her head helplessly. Got it, sister. Lin Yu immediately stopped playing around, stuck out her tongue, and skillfully reached out to apply talent amplification to Lin Shi. Then, Lin Shi took a deep breath and reached out to gently open the pitch-black patterned supply crate. When she saw what was inside the crate, her pupils constricted sharply, and a look of pleasant surprise appeared on her face. Immediately afterward, she displayed the attributes of all the looted items for everyone to see. Earth Core. Special item. Not a condensation of the Mist Rock Titan's own power, but the Earth Mother Core that the Titan spent its entire life drawing from the deepest parts of the Earth's crust and nourishing for 1,000 years with its entire life essence. It contains the purest power of the Earth, capable of transforming barren soil, stimulating the growth of mineral crystals, and nourishing all living things, bringing life back to desolate lands. Earth Rock Armor Symbiotic Module, Orange Quality. Vehicle Item. A dedicated vehicle defense module modified from the Energy Core, extracted from the Mist Rock Titan's original rock armor. It covers the entire vehicle in a layer of dense rock armor identical to the Titan's rock armor, providing extremely strong protection against physical impacts, explosive fragments, and energy burns, as well as significant damage reduction for both physical and energy attacks. The rock armor automatically absorbs surrounding rocks and soil for self-repair. As long as it isn't completely destroyed, it can be restored to its original state in a short time. Rock armor recovery increases vehicle energy consumption. Installation requirement: Level 6 and above vehicle. Vehicle upgrade book, special item. Upon use, it directly increases the vehicle level by 1. Limited to vehicles of level 6 and below. Looking at the 3 items before him, Wu Di's brow furrowed slightly. Given the Mist Rock Titan's world-shattering strength, only one of the dropped items was of orange quality. Could this seemingly ordinary earth core be the greatest prize of this battle? He pondered over it for a long while but couldn't figure out the reason, so he shook his head and stopped overthinking. In any case, once these items were in his hands and enhanced by the Omni Furnace, they wouldn't be too bad no matter how poor they started. "Sister, what's the deal with this earth core? It doesn't seem very useful." Lin Yu leaned her head in and asked curiously, pointing at the text on the panel. "It can't be used as a weapon or an energy source." "Xiao Yu, we don't need to worry about things that require thinking." Shu Kexin waved her hand dismissively with a matter-of-fact look. "Just leave it to the boss. If we lack anything, he can just farm it. Anyway, the boss is a walking cheat. Whatever he wants, he just clicks and gets it." At this point, Shu Kexin had completely come to view Wu Di as a game NPC possessing GM privileges, firmly believing that as long as Wu Di wanted it, there was nothing he couldn't produce. Wu Di ignored her nonsense, reached out to put all 3 items into his personal space, and stood up. "All right, everyone get some rest. Tomorrow is the last day in the fog zone, and who knows what we'll encounter. Big brother Wu Di, I'll stay here with you." Lin Yui immediately raised her hand and looked at him. Wu Di nodded without objection. It didn't matter who kept watch tonight. Seeing this, Lin Shi and Su Wanwan didn't say much. They quickly tidied up the clutter on the coffee table and quietly returned to the bedroom. Before leaving, Shu Kexin didn't forget to make a face at Wu Di before slipping inside as well. The RV fell silent instantly. Wu Di sat in the driver's seat, his fingers lightly tapping the steering wheel, as scenes from the battle with the Mist Rock Titan played repeatedly in his mind. That sense of powerlessness, when facing such a gargantuan creature, was still clearly etched in his heart. If the Titan's Wrath Mecha could unlock its full weapon systems, I probably wouldn't have been in such a pathetic state today, he whispered to himself. I didn't even have a decent weapon and had to fight hard with a broken Tang sword. Then, with a thought, Wu Di opened his personal panel to check it. Name, Wu Di. Physique 1668. Spirit 30. Abilities, Shooting Mastery, Steel Body, Fighting Grandmaster. Remarks: Spirit control has not reached the standard, unable to fully harness current physical strength. After reading it, Wu Di felt very depressed. Currently his strength was entirely limited by his measly 30 points of spirit, making it impossible to exert his body's full power. Not to mention the eternal grade mecha, Titan's Wrath, theoretically. It could reach sublight speeds, but he probably couldn't even exert 1/10,000th of the equipment's potential right now. Especially when facing the Mist Rock Titan today. That feeling of having strength but being unable to use it made him feel incredibly frustrated. So how exactly can spirit be increased? Wu Di looked at the churning black mist outside the window, his heart filled with doubt. This question had plagued him from the beginning, yet the system had never provided any hints. Then, Wu Di's gaze fell upon the Earth-Rock Armor symbiotic module in his personal space. His focus was entirely on the installation requirement, level 6 and above vehicle. Why is the installation requirement so high? His vehicle was currently full of items of orange quality or higher, yet none had such a strict requirement. Even the red quality ancient construct armor on his vehicle only required a level 4 vehicle. Suddenly, a flash of inspiration crossed Wu Di's mind. Could it be because all my items were obtained through talent enhancement, which is why the installation requirements are so low? Thinking of this, Wu Di felt a wave of lingering fear. If that were truly the case, then his talent had really saved his life today. Otherwise, the recently acquired Heaven's Punishment electromagnetic railgun might have required a level 7 vehicle, meaning he wouldn't have been able to install it at all, let alone kill the Mist Rock Titan. Thank goodness, thank goodness. Woody suppressed his sense of relief and then, without any hesitation, used the vehicle upgrade book with a thought. Ding! Successfully used vehicle upgrade book. Vehicle level increased to level 6. As the system notification faded, the RV showed no obvious changes, no flashing lights, no structural transformation. As expected, still no changes, just like before. Woody then opened the vehicle interface to check. Chapter 243. Pilgrim's Elegy. Vehicle, level 6 vehicle. Top speed, 300 kilometers per hour. Onboard accessories items, lucky pendant, gold, HX9 ion thruster, red, ceramic composite bulletproof glass, gold, Titan Mk4 composite chassis, gold, stellar core fusion reactor, red, smart constant temperature refrigerator, purple, atmospheric water collection unit, orange, vehicle mounted full domain scanning radar, gold, 30mm chain autocannon, orange, apocalypse matrix, eternal, Titan armor piercing ram, purple, multispectral penetrating lighting unit, purple, composite armor coating, gold, all-domain stealth reconnaissance aircraft, purple, holographic phantom camouflage, gold, primal construct, Emperor's divine armor, red, matrix stabilization tracks, gold, supercore power module, orange, anti-gravity suspension stabilization field generator, orange, holographic cinema projection module, purple, omnidimensional perception array, red, solid-state lithium iron phosphate integrated stack, gold, eye of omniscience, eternal, Heaven's Punishment vehicle-mounted electromagnetic railgun, red. Looking at this long, dense list of items, Woody couldn't help but sigh. The speed at which he obtained new items was indeed getting slower, but the quality of each one was incomparable to the previous ones. Ever since his talent was upgraded, basically all new items and equipment started at red quality. He had previously regretted that the number of daily talent enhancements was too low, but looking at the few eternal grade items above, as well as the heavy hammer Schwann Armor Legion Unit 01 in his hand, Woody couldn't help but feel fortunate. Fortunately, my talent upgraded. Suddenly he asked, Xiaoxi, what is the status of the Heaven's Punishment electromagnetic railgun now? Commander, due to continuous overload firing, the superconducting magnetic cage of Heaven's Punishment has suffered irreversible damage. It is currently in a semi-destroyed state, limited to only 3 final safe shots. At the same time, because of the 13 consecutive shots, the stellar core fusion reactor currently has 61% energy remaining. Xiaoxi's voice rang out steadily. Hearing this, Wu Di's heart instantly tightened, aching terribly. The red-quality electromagnetic railgun he had just obtained was basically scrapped in less than an hour. What was even more distressing was that the energy problem he had finally solved was now once again placed in front of him. Fortunately, there was some gain. Heaven's Punishment was synthesized from a few purple weapons anyway. Not a loss. Not a loss. Wu Di could only console himself this way. Just after Wu Di finished sorting through today's total gains and losses, he noticed Lin Yue in the passenger seat next to him, tossing and turning restlessly, occasionally stealing a glance at him. Wu Di rubbed his temples with a headache. This girl was really about to be led astray by Shu Kexen. Go to sleep quickly. I don't know what we will face tomorrow. Oh! Lin Yu hesitated for a moment upon hearing this, nodded obediently, and leaned against the passenger seat. Not long after, her steady breathing could be heard. Wu Di looked at her sleeping profile, a faint smile curling the corners of his mouth, and his gaze turned again toward the endless black mist outside the window. The night passed without incident. The next morning at 5:58, everyone had finished washing up and eating breakfast. Wu Di sat in the driver's seat, looking through the car window at the churning black mist 10 meters away, his eyes deep. The last day, he said softly, what will it be today? Xiaoxi, Maintain a speed of 120 kilometers per hour. Understood, Commander. The RV started slowly, moving steadily on the mist highway. However, the moment the time precisely hit 6, 3 striking announcements popped up on everyone's system interface simultaneously. Regional announcement. The catastrophe-level creature Mist Rock Titan has been killed. The Doomsday Catastrophe event has terminated. Regional announcement. The event has been changed to Pilgrim's Elegy. Event rules. An eternal lighthouse will be generated in the depths of the mist. Please arrive at the location of the lighthouse within 24 hours. Those who do not arrive on time will be forcibly eliminated by the system. Road restrictions have been lifted. You may move freely. Looking at the brief but weighty announcement in front of him, Lin Yu widened her eyes and shouted in surprise, "Big Brother Wudi, the catastrophe monster is that giant from last night, right? You killed the final boss." "So amazing, boss." Zhu Kexin also jumped up excitedly, hugging Su Wanwan next to her. "I knew there was nothing you couldn't handle. What catastrophe titan, they are all trash in front of boss." Lin Shi and Su Wanwan also looked at each other, their eyes revealing the relief of surviving a disaster. "You guys look at the communication channel, it's exploded." Lin Yue suddenly shouted triumphantly. Wu Di opened the communication channel, and countless messages were refreshing like a tide. "So what exactly happened? What does catastrophe-level creature mean? And what is the Mist Rock Titan? Why do I know nothing? This Pilgrim's Elegy sounds wrong. What kind of ghost thing is this time? Is it this hard to stay alive? Does anyone know what this Mist Rock Titan is? It sounds very impressive just from the name, doesn't it? Do you think it's possible that yesterday's earthquake was caused by that Mist Rock Titan? Did you guys not notice the words, 'has been killed'? The final boss was killed in advance. Could it be that some player did it? How could it be killed by a player? Do you know how huge a body needs to be to cause such a tremor? Even bombing it with missiles might not solve such a huge monster. I don't believe anyone can defeat such a monster. Could it be that mysterious big shot who is #1 on the vehicle ranking? Only he has this kind of strength, right? Did you notice? The road restrictions are lifted. Finally don't have to worry about driving off the road. The speed of crawling these past few days was really painful. Holy crap, it's really possible. That big shot, his points have increased by nearly 200,000 in the last 2 days. Are we really people from the same world? The second place's points are not even 10,000. He already has over 500,000. So what if he's awesome? We can't meet him anyway. Instead of having the energy to pay attention to others, you might as well think about how to survive today. Where is the lighthouse? Has anyone seen the lighthouse? This damn broken game, the announcements are getting simpler and simpler. Wu Di looked at the varied discussions in the channel, a faint smile curling the corners of his mouth. They would never have guessed that the catastrophe-level monster, Mist Rock Titan, had already had its skull shattered by him and Xiao Shi working together a few hours ago. But soon his smile faded, and his brows furrowed tightly. The eternal lighthouse in the depths of the mist in the announcement, and Pilgrim's Elegy. What exactly did this mean? What was waiting for them there? Countless questions swirled in his mind. Chapter 244, A Crisis That Is Not a Crisis. Xiao Shi, full speed ahead. Scan all directions and search for the signal of the eternal lighthouse, Wu Di said in a deep voice. Understood, Commander. Switch to maximum speed of 300 kilometers per hour. Along with Xiao Shi's steady voice, the RV broke through the black mist like an arrow from a bow, speeding along the straight highway. Inside the cabin. Sister, what kind of place is this eternal lighthouse? Lin Yu rested her chin on her hand, her face full of curiosity. Could it be a safe zone prepared for us by the system? And then, just like before, we can go shopping again. There's no such thing as a free lunch. Lin Shi shook her head, her brow furrowing slightly. This game never gives us anything for free. Pilgrim's Elegy. That name sounds all wrong. An elegy is always sung for the dead. Su Wanwan nodded gently and added, "Moreover, the system only said to arrive within 24 hours. It didn't say what would happen after arrival. It also didn't say what's inside the lighthouse, whether there will be monsters, or if there are any traps." "Oh, why are you all thinking so much?" Shu Kexen waved her hand dismissively and patted her chest. "With Boss here, it doesn't matter what kind of ghosts or gods show up. We'll just knock them all down. Besides, we're the strongest team on the whole server right now. The dangers others face aren't even an issue for us." Wu Di listened to their discussion without interjecting. His gaze drifted through the car window toward the boundless black mist. Shu Kexen was right. They indeed possessed strength far exceeding that of other survivors. But the more this was the case, the stronger the unease in his heart became. "All right, stop discussing it," Wu Di spoke up, interrupting the group. "Keep an eye on the regional channel and see if any other players have found news about the lighthouse. If there's anything unusual, tell me immediately." He then turned and spoke to the air. "Xiaoxi, notify me of any situation at any time." "Yes, Commander." The interior of the RV fell silent instantly. Wu Di sat in the driver's seat, his eyes scanning the road surface within the next 10 meters, not daring to relax in the slightest. The RV had traveled smoothly for less than 20 minutes when Xiaoxi's voice suddenly rang out. "Commander? Detected abnormal light fluctuations. Insufficient data to parse the source. Should I activate the Apocalypse Matrix for deep analysis? Estimated energy consumption, 5%." Wu Di's movements jerked to a halt, and his brow furrowed instantly. Energy. Energy again. He gritted his teeth, and scenes from every previous final day flashed through his mind. The system never showed mercy on the last day. "Xiaoxi, start the analysis," Wu Di said decisively. "Understood, Commander. Activating Apocalypse Matrix Deep Analysis. Analysis complete. Source of abnormal light fluctuations. Northeast direction. Reaching that direction requires leaving the current highway surface. Adjust direction and head northeast." Wu Di did not hesitate for a second. "Yes, Commander, leaving the highway." Hearing this, the others immediately gathered around, leaning against the car windows to look out curiously. "Boss, did you just find us a shortcut?" Shu Kexen said excitedly. "While others are still wandering aimlessly on the highway, we're taking a shortcut." Just as she finished speaking, the RV made a sharp left turn, rushing off the smooth asphalt highway and into a potholed wasteland. In the next second, everyone gasped. The world outside the highway was far more terrifying than they had imagined. The black mist still shrouded everything, and this time the visibility inside the RV was only about 5 meters. But within those 5 meters, there were hideous obstacles everywhere. Mounds of earth half a person high stood abruptly on the ground. Bottomless black holes gaped with dark maws, and broken tree trunks and discarded rebar were scattered haphazardly. With even a slight lapse in care, the RV would flip or fall into a deep pit. However, Xiaoxi's control was precise to the extreme. The RV maneuvered nimbly through this place of death at a staggering speed of 300 kilometers per hour. The car's body was as steady as if it were driving on a high-speed expressway. Wu Di watched the terrain data flashing rapidly across the center console screen, feeling secretly alarmed. Without Xiaoxi, let alone moving at 300 kilometers per hour, even inching along at 30 kilometers per hour would have been absolutely difficult. In less than an hour, Lin Yu pointed ahead and shouted in surprise, "Big Brother Wu Di! Look, light! There's light ahead!" Everyone looked in the direction she pointed, and saw a soft beam of white light piercing through layers of fog in the distant depths of the black mist. "We finally found it!" Shu Kexen pumped her fist excitedly, but Lin Shi's brow furrowed even tighter. She looked at Wu Di and said in a worried tone, "Big Brother Wu Di, there was no crisis at all this time. It was too smooth. It's so strange. Could there be something even more terrifying waiting for us ahead?" "Zixi, don't worry blindly," Shu Kexen patted her on the shoulder and said dismissively. "Look at this shortcut Boss arranged. It's so full of potholes. This itself is a crisis. For anyone else, the car would have been destroyed and everyone dead long ago. It's only because we have Xiaoxi that we could get through so easily." Shu Kexen's words were like a bolt of lightning, striking Wu Di instantly. He jerked his head up, his eyes suddenly brightening. Right, he almost forgot about that. This journey indeed seemed like smooth sailing, with no monsters or traps encountered. But this smoothness was entirely built on the foundation of Xiaoxi being an eternal-grade artificial intelligence. For other ordinary survivors, this wasteland that seemingly had no monsters was a giant graveyard. They didn't have the precise predictions of the apocalypse matrix, nor the stabilized body of anti-gravity suspension. As long as they dared to leave the highway, no one knew if they could reach the final destination. This wasn't an easy journey at all, it was a screening with lives as the stakes. Only survivors who truly possessed sufficient strength could cross this deadly wasteland and reach the eternal lighthouse. Those with insufficient strength would only fall forever on the road of pilgrimage. Pilgrim's Elegy. Wu Di repeated the name in a low voice, a trace of chill rising in his heart. Does it really mean something that simple? The RV continued toward that beam of white light. After another 20 minutes, the surrounding mist began to grow thinner and thinner. Commander, detected a continuous decrease in mist concentration. Field of vision is gradually expanding. Xiaoxi's voice rang out at the right moment. Sure enough, the original visibility of only 10 meters slowly expanded to 20 meters, 50 meters, and 100 meters. This was the first time since they entered this world that they had such a clear field of vision. Chapter 245. Eternal Lighthouse. Everyone held their breath, looking at the world outside the window. What met their eyes was a desolate land that stretched as far as the eye could see. The cracked earth was covered in crisscrossing gullies like a tortoise shell, without even a hint of life. The whole world was terrifyingly quiet. They continued forward for about another 10 minutes. That eternal lighthouse finally appeared in its entirety within everyone's field of vision. It was a towering white tower, a full 100 meters high. The tower body was built of an unknown white stone, its surface as smooth as a mirror without a single crack. It didn't have any lamps lit, yet it emitted a soft and holy white light from the inside out, completely dispersing the surrounding mist and forming a massive circular safe zone. The tower body was covered in dense carvings. Those reliefs depicted countless figures in rags, carrying heavy packs and trudging with difficulty in the same direction. Some had fallen on the road, turning into withered bones by the wayside. Some supported each other as they continued forward, and others reached out their hands, seemingly crying for help toward the distant lighthouse. At the end of the reliefs was the top of the tower. There was no lamp there, only a massive, broken Star Trek compass. The compass needle had long since snapped, and the scattered scales were embedded in the tower body, as if recording some long-forgotten coordinates. Below the compass, a line of blurred text was carved. It was too far away to see clearly. The entire lighthouse stood quietly on the wasteland, without any sound or movement. The RV slowly decelerated and finally stopped exactly 1 kilometer away from the lighthouse, at the edge of the white light's coverage. "Let's stop here," Wu Di said, his gaze fixed on the distant lighthouse. "We're in no hurry to go over." "Why, big brother Wu Di?" Lin Yu looked puzzled, leaning against the vehicle window and craning her neck. "Can't we just go in and see what's going on?" "Xiao Yu, it's too quiet here." Lin Shi shook her head and said softly, "It's abnormally quiet. The system wouldn't let us clear the stage so easily. Besides, it's only 8:47 a.m. There are still a full 19 hours left in the 24-hour time limit." Su Wanwan also nodded. "And only our team has arrived. Nothing good has ever happened on the last day before. Do you think we have to wait for everyone to arrive before we can enter?" Shu Kexin blinked and guessed. "Boss, what do you think?" Wu Di didn't speak. His gaze swept across the open space illuminated by the white light. Just as they said, it was too quiet. Not only quiet, but there was also no danger, which was different from every encounter they'd had before. Xiaoxi, launch the drone and carefully investigate everything within a 1-kilometer radius around the lighthouse, Wu Di ordered. "Don't get close to the lighthouse itself." "Understood, Commander." Drone launched, performing a full area scan. The real-time footage from the drone immediately appeared on the center console screen. Several people gathered around at once, staring at the screen without blinking for fear of missing any detail. The drone circled within the 1-kilometer radius, scanning every inch of the land. But unexpectedly, nothing was found. Commander, scan complete. No abnormal signals detected within the 1-kilometer radius, Xiaoxi's voice rang out. The cabin fell silent instantly. Everyone looked at Wu Di, waiting for him to make the final decision. Xiaoxi, can this unknown situation be analyzed in depth? Wu Di asked. Commander, the situation is unknown and there are too many variables. Deep analysis is not recommended. Energy consumption cannot be estimated. Hearing this, Wu Di completely abandoned the idea. The stellar core fusion reactor only had 56% energy left. If they encountered any special circumstances later, he couldn't afford any more unnecessary consumption. We'll wait here. Wu Di looked at Lin Shi and the others, his tone calm but indisputable. We'll wait 1 kilometer away and see what happens next. If there's any change, we'll have enough time to react. No one raised an objection. Having experienced so many life-and-death crises, everyone was used to following Wu Di's arrangements. Su Wanwan looked at Wu Di and said softly, Big brother Wu Di, you should rest for a bit. I'll call you if anything happens. Yeah, boss. Go sleep in the bedroom for a while. Xu Kexin immediately chimed in, winking as she said, I'm telling you, the bed in the bedroom smells so good. Oh, right. Why not let Jixi stay with you? Jixi is so soft. Wu Di didn't care at all about Xu Kexin's nonsense. After considering it, he nodded. All right. If anything happens, call me immediately. After saying that, Wu Di stood up and entered the domain space. It was always a bright, sunny day in the domain space, with the sky as blue as if it had been washed and white clouds floating leisurely. Not far away, the vegetable plot Lin Shi and the others had cultivated was growing well, the green vegetables shimmering in the sunlight. Wu Di knew the sky and the sunlight were fake, but even so, for the first time his tense nerves completely relaxed. He walked to a nearby patch of ground where some clothes were spread out, which was likely where Lin Shi and the others usually rested. He slowly lay down, looking at the blue sky above, but his mind was constantly thinking, will I encounter anything else today? What will I encounter tomorrow? When will this damn game finally end? Countless questions swirled in his mind, and gradually exhaustion surged in like a tide. He closed his eyes and slowly fell asleep. He slept exceptionally soundly. Time passed minute by minute. 4:58 p.m. Wu Di was gently shaken awake by Lin Yu. Big brother Wu Di. Big brother Wu Di. Wake up. Other people have arrived outside. Wu Di snapped his eyes open and was instantly alert. He stood up and walked out of the domain space with Lin Yu. He walked straight to the center console screen, where Xiaoxi had already maximized the image. On the opposite edge of the white light area, an SUV was parked. A man in his 30s sat in the driver's seat, poking his head out and cautiously observing his surroundings. Since Wu Di's RV was parked in the complete opposite direction, the man didn't notice their existence at all. Boss, what's the word? We're ready. Xu Kexin spoke up from the side. Wu Di glanced at Xu Kexin, who already had the cloud-piercing bow in her hand, then looked back at the center console screen. Ignore him for now. Big brother Wu Di, I'm going to cook, Lin Shi said and walked straight to the kitchen, with Su Wanwan following close behind. Over the next hour, Xiaoxi's notification pings rang out continuously. Chapter 246. It's not over yet. Wu Di watched the center console screen as more and more vehicles arrived from all directions, flooding into this 1 square kilometer white light zone like a tide. They were scattered in groups of 2s and 3s in various corners, maintaining a sufficient distance from one another. No one was willing to be the first to break this eerie silence. Lin Shi and Su Wanwan had already finished preparing dinner. The group ate a simple meal, and the time reached exactly 17:58. Commander, a total of 845 vehicles have gathered within the white light zone, corresponding to 1,200 survivors. Xiaoxi's voice rang out steadily. None of the survivors have exited their vehicles, and no communication or conflict has occurred. Wu Di nodded. These past few weeks of struggling between life and death had been enough for everyone to learn caution and restraint. Before understanding the situation, no one would easily reveal their strength, let alone initiate a dispute. At that moment, Su Wanwan's daily talent treasure chest refreshed on time. Simultaneously as the chest refreshed, two striking announcements popped up on everyone's system interface at once. Ding. Congratulations to all survivors who have reached the Eternal Lighthouse. The Pilgrim's Elegy event has been completed. Ding. All survivors have received a completion treasure chest. Seeing the system announcements that suddenly popped up, the interior of the vehicle fell silent. Even Su Wanwan, who had already reached out to open her talent treasure chest, stopped her movements. Everyone turned their heads in unison to look at Wu Di. "Don't worry about it," Wu Di spoke up directly. "Open the treasure chest first." Su Wanwan nodded, took a deep breath, and reached out to open the talent treasure chest. She immediately displayed the blueprint's attributes to everyone. 30 mm tungsten core armor-piercing shell blueprint, purple quality. Applicable to all 30 mm caliber vehicle-mounted autocannons. Increases armor penetration and deals extra damage to armored and mechanical targets. Permanent unlock of 30 mm tungsten core armor-piercing shells upon use. Crafting requirements, metal block X2, gunpowder X2. Sister Wanwan, this is a blueprint we can use. And it's purple quality, Lin Yu shouted excitedly. Wanwan, have you developed a fear of lacking firepower lately? Shu Kexin leaned over to take a look and curled her lip. How come everything you open is either a weapon or ammunition? Wu Di didn't speak. With a thought, he retrieved the recently acquired completion treasure chest from his personal space and placed it on the coffee table. His brow furrowed slightly as he sank into thought. The others, who had been chattering, immediately fell silent when they saw Wu Di like this. Boss, what's wrong? Zhu Kexin leaned toward the completion treasure chest, peered at it closely, and scratched her head. There's nothing strange about it. Isn't it just a normal treasure chest? Wu Di shook his head. It's nothing. Lin Shi, you open it. Lin Shi nodded. Lin Yu practicedly reached out to apply talent amplification to her. Lin Shi then reached out and gently opened the completion treasure chest, immediately displaying all the gains to everyone. Fuel times 360. Metal block times 120. Glass times 120. Plastic times 120. Electronic component times 120. Gunpowder times 120. Quantum essence times 12. 500 milliliters mineral water times 36 bottles. Compressed biscuits times 36 bags. Looking at the list of supplies before him, the doubt Wu Di had just suppressed surged back into his heart. What exactly does the system mean by this? What's wrong, big brother Wu Di? Lin Shi noticed his unease and asked softly, Is there something wrong with these supplies? The supplies are fine, Wu Di shook his head. But this completion is too strange. There's no safe zone, and not even a single extra prompt. It just gave us a chest and then said nothing. Yeah, I think it's weird too. Lin Yu nodded, then added dejectedly, After the last two completions, weren't there always safe zones and shopping areas? We have so many points, I wanted to buy so many things. Moreover, there are too many people gathered this time. Wu Di's gaze swept across the dense clusters of vehicle light dots on the center console screen. The interior of the vehicle fell silent instantly. Everyone realized something was wrong. Big brother Wu Di, Su Wanwan's voice was low. Are you worried that the system is guiding us to kill each other? Wu Di slowly nodded, his gaze returning to the snow-white lighthouse in the distance, falling upon the reliefs of the pilgrims on its walls. Just then, Lin Yue suddenly shouted, Big brother Wu Di, sis, look at the communication channel. It's exploding. Wu Di immediately opened the regional communication channel, where countless messages were refreshing at high speed. Does anyone know what's going on? We cleared it, so why is there no safe zone? What do you mean cleared? I'm still fucking traveling through the black mist. These shitty road conditions. The car is moving slower than I can run. Just open the chest already, it gives a lot of materials. The system was finally generous for once. Wait, what do you mean by clearing and chests? Have you guys already found the lighthouse? Generous my ass. I keep feeling like something's wrong. With so many people squeezed together, something is bound to happen sooner or later. Damn it, there's no safe zone this time. Things might get chaotic in a bit. Protect yourselves, and whatever you do, don't get out of your cars. There shouldn't be any idiots left by now. Watch out for someone sneaking up to give you a shot. No safe zone makes me feel a bit panicked, but if anyone dares to mess with me, the gun in my hand isn't just for show. Everyone be careful. Don't easily trust anyone. I just saw someone trying to steal something. In the end, those nearby should unite. Is anyone looking to team up? I advise you all to behave. Whoever makes a move first gets killed first. It hasn't been easy to survive, and now we're supposed to kill each other. Is anyone going into the lighthouse to take a look? What's the situation now? Are we just waiting here? Can someone help me? I'm still in the black mist, and I feel like this black mist is suddenly acting weird. Don't talk nonsense. Isn't it good that everyone is coexisting peacefully right now? I hope so. I really don't want to kill anyone else. While everyone was arguing incessantly in the communication channel, Xiaoxi's voice suddenly rang out. Commander, detected that the surrounding black mist is slowly shrinking toward the central lighthouse. Based on current speed calculations, it will completely cover the current area in 6 hours. Hearing this, Wu Di's pupils constricted sharply. As expected, today's crisis was far from over. Xiaoxi immediately adjusted the RV's position. Stay at the edge of the black mist and slowly move toward the center. Wu Di ordered immediately. Don't get too far ahead, but don't let the black mist catch up either. Chapter 247, the situation spirals out of control. Received, Commander. Adjusting position. The RV started up slowly, moving bit by bit toward the lighthouse along the edge of the white light area. Before long, someone in the communication channel noticed the black mist shrinking, and panic spread instantly. Holy shit! The black mist is shrinking inward. Did you guys notice? Fuck, I was planning to stay at the edge of the circle, but the back of my car just got brushed by the black mist, and a large chunk was corroded away. Is anyone still alive inside the black mist? Say something. Don't even think about it. I've already lost contact with my friend. Those inside the black mist are probably gone. Better look out for yourselves. Could it be that there are too many players alive right now? Weren't we already told we cleared the stage? Why is this happening? Are they not planning to let us live? Did they get bored of us? Damn it, if I can't live, no one's going to have it easy. I'm going to go after the others right now. Run to the center. Run toward the lighthouse. It's safe around the lighthouse. Calm down. The black mist is shrinking very slowly. The open space is so large, if we squeeze into the middle, maybe the mist will stop at a certain point. We'll know once we try. Isn't this just a fucking game circle shrinking? If everyone goes to the middle, it must be safe. What do you mean? Is the system trying to use the black mist to kill off the extra people? What else? Why else would it suddenly shrink the black mist? Looking at the content of the communication channel, Wu Di noticed a few of the messages. Is it really like that? He muttered to himself, his gaze falling once again on the reliefs on the lighthouse. The skeletal remains scattered along the pilgrimage path looked particularly glaring at this moment. If that's really the case, I don't need to hurry, Wu Di thought. Soon enough, someone will experiment and find out the truth for us. In the time that followed, Wu Di's RV stayed at the very edge of the black mist, unhurriedly following it as it moved toward the center. The cabin was deathly silent. No one spoke. Everyone was staring intently at the communication channel, waiting for what would happen next. The time reached 2025. Lin Yu said with a grim expression, Big brother Wu Di, look at the communication channel. Wu Di immediately looked down, and a series of hair-raising messages were refreshing rapidly. The killing has started. I knew someone would cause trouble. Luckily, I contacted a few people nearby and formed a group. I just killed someone. The black mist stopped. It really stopped. Haha, believe me. As long as we kill more people, everything will be fine. What? The black mist stops if you kill someone. Not here. I glanced around and estimated several hundred vehicles, and no one has made a move. Aren't you worried this is a trap set by the system? Do you understand what the Pilgrim's Elegy means? It's true. I tried it too. Sorry, everyone, but the weak have no right to survive. Hurry and contact others nearby, huddle together, and no one will dare to make a move. It'll be too late if you wait. Then what are you waiting for? Do it. Kill or be killed. Everyone, please stay calm. The black mist is moving so slowly it might not necessarily be an issue. Aren't you worried about doing this? Haha, so what if I killed someone? If you've got the guts, come and get me. It's over. Things are getting chaotic here too. Someone, please save me. Seeing these messages, Woody's heart didn't ripple in the slightest. If killing was truly the only way to survive, he would not hesitate to act. But looking at the reliefs of the pilgrims on the lighthouse, he felt that things wouldn't be that simple. It's too deliberate, Lin Shi said, frowning. Big brother Woody, could this also be a trap? Woody nodded. Just as he was about to say something, Xiao Shi's voice suddenly rang out. Commander, detected a vehicle attacking other players. Location, 300 meters southeast. Woody immediately looked at the center console screen. He saw over a dozen vehicles that seemed to have coordinated beforehand, surrounding a lone SUV in a fan shape. Then, a dense barrage of gunfire erupted. Bullets hit the car body like raindrops. The glass shattered instantly, and the body was riddled with holes. In less than 3 minutes, the vehicle exploded violently, turning into a ball of fire. The others in the cabin remained silent, each with a different expression. Xu Kexin gripped the cloud-piercing bow tightly, looking like she wanted to rush out. Lin Shi held Lin Yu's hand. Though their expressions were grim, there was a look of eagerness in their eyes. Only Su Wanwan was still looking at Woody, seemingly waiting for something. Woody looked at the scene before him, his brow furrowing deeply. As expected, the situation had spiraled out of control. Over the next dozen minutes, the entire white light area turned into a living hell. The originally scattered vehicles seemed to have reached some sort of tacit understanding and began to gather quickly, forming one convoy after another. Some had as few as a dozen, while others had more than 30. They attacked and annexed each other, with gunfire and explosions echoing one after another. In the midst of this chaos, Woody's RV became the only solitary existence. Soon, someone noticed them. Over a dozen vehicles slowly turned around and drove toward Woody's RV. Commander detected 17 vehicles approaching us with clear, aggressive intent. Xiao Shi's voice rang out coldly. Is an attack required? Woody's gaze instantly turned cold. Xiao Shi, deactivate the camouflage on the 30mm chain gun directly, he said word by word. Then, destroy them all for me. Received, Commander. Weapon system activated. Target locked. In the next second, the holographic camouflage on top of the RV vanished. The pitch-black 30mm chain gun slowly rose, its muzzle glinting with a cold, metallic light. Boom, 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 boom. The deafening sound of cannon fire erupted instantly. 17 armor-piercing shells were fired in a flash. In the face of the 30mm autocannon, the rushing vehicles were like paper. The shells easily pierced through the car bodies, detonating the fuel tanks. One car after another exploded violently, with flames soaring and thick smoke billowing. In less than 10 seconds, those 17 vehicles had all turned into burning scrap metal. The entire white light area instantly fell silent. All gunfire and explosions stopped. Every player within a 1-kilometer radius turned in shock toward the direction of Woody's RV. When they saw the menacing autocannon on top of the RV, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Chapter 248, Deterring the Entire Field. Woody looked at the sea of fire burning before him, then raised his head to look toward that snow-white lighthouse in the distance. Xiao Shi, open the vehicle door. He stood up and said calmly, Kill anyone with hostile intent immediately. You guys stay in the vehicle, don't come out. After saying that, Woody stepped directly out of the RV. With a thought, the 3-meter-tall black Titan's Wrath mecha instantly covered his body. A cold, metallic texture enveloped him, and a heavy sense of power surged from every bone and limb. He remembered what Xiao Shi had said before, and silently tried to open the communication permissions for Titan's Wrath. Sure enough, Xiao Shi's voice immediately rang out in his mind. Commander, Xiao Shi has successfully accessed the Titan's Wrath communication permissions. Within radar range, we can maintain real-time communication. Woody nodded and took heavy strides, slowly walking toward the center of the lighthouse. The footsteps of the mecha were exceptionally loud in the silent wasteland. With every step he took, The ground seemed to tremble slightly. Everyone looked at this suddenly appearing metal giant in stunned silence. That? What is that? What is he going to do? He's not going to kill us all, is he? A mecha. This is a fucking mecha, right? This kind of thing actually exists. My God, who the hell is he? He has cannons and a mecha. This guy wouldn't be the big shot who's #1 on the vehicle leaderboard, would he? Woody stopped once he reached the center. His cold voice, projected through the mecha, spread across the entire white light area. Everyone, stay exactly where you are and be quiet. If anyone else attacks recklessly, I will prioritize killing them. If you don't believe me, you're welcome to try. After speaking, prompted by Xiaoxi, he suddenly turned his head toward the northwest. Boom! The autocannon on top of the RV fired again. A shell whistled out, accurately hitting a vehicle that had just raised its gun barrel. The vehicle exploded instantly, turning into a ball of fire. I don't want to say it a second time. Woody's voice rang out again, carrying an unquestionable authority. Everyone, concentrate toward the center immediately. The scene remained deathly quiet for a few seconds. Then the roar of engines rose one after another. All the vehicles obediently turned around and slowly concentrated toward the lighthouse. No one dared to make another move, and no one dared to question Woody's orders. The fate of those 17 vehicles just now, along with that ferocious autocannon and this metal giant who looked like a demon god, had completely deterred everyone. Woody watched the slowly moving torrent of vehicles and nodded with satisfaction. He turned and walked back to the RV, deactivating the mecha suit. Boss, you're so cool. Shu Kexen immediately pounced over. That mecha was simply awesome. Those people are probably so scared they don't even dare to breathe loudly. Boss, when are you going to get one for me? Exactly. Lin Yu also nodded vigorously. Big brother Woody, you looked so cool standing there just now. Woody smiled and didn't say anything. Xiaoxi continued to slowly approach the center point. Stay alert. Understood, Commander. The interior of the vehicle gradually quieted down. Everyone leaned back in their seats, and the long wait began. Time passed minute by minute. The firelight outside gradually died out, leaving only the soft white light emitted by the distant lighthouse to illuminate this crowded clearing, until the time reached 23:08. Commander, detected that the black mist contraction has stopped. Xiaoxi's voice suddenly rang out. Woody's tense expression finally relaxed. He looked out the window. Their RV was now less than 100 meters away from the lighthouse, and this 100-meter clearing was currently packed so tight with vehicles that not a drop of water could trickle through. Big brother Woody, look at the communication channel. Lin Yu pointed at the system panel again and said. Woody opened the regional communication channel, where messages were slowly refreshing. The black mist stopped. It really stopped. Finally safe. Stop my ass. It's still shrinking on my side. It's almost touching the back of my car. It's still shrinking on my side too. What's going on? Didn't they say it stopped? Why did your black mist stop but ours hasn't? Damn it, there aren't many people left. Fortunately, a ruthless person appeared on our side and killed everyone who was about to make a move. You guys didn't see it. Cannons and mechas. I seriously suspect it's the #1 big shot on the leaderboard. Do you think it's possible that the places where the black mist is still shrinking are the ones where people were killing each other just now? My God, so killing people doesn't just fail to save your life. It actually makes you die faster. Good thing I didn't make a move just now. Otherwise, I'd be finished too. Good thing none of us over here dared to move. Otherwise, there probably wouldn't be many of us left now. To the brother who said he ran into the #1 big shot, what does his vehicle look like? Yeah, thank you so much. I almost couldn't help making a move just now. Seeing this, Woody's pupils constricted sharply. Fortunately, he whispered to himself. Fortunately, I had enough strength to control the situation. Otherwise, this place would have definitely fallen into chaos as well. Then he looked up at Lin Shi and the others and said, All right, everyone get some rest. Nothing else should happen tonight. Lin Shi and Su Wanwan nodded, got up, and returned to the bedroom. Shu Kexen also yawned and followed them in. Lin Ye stayed behind. She had figured it out by now. The time Wu Di used his talent had changed from around 18 in the evening to exactly 12 midnight. Although she didn't know why, she knew she just needed to cooperate. Wu Di lay in the driver's seat, quietly waiting for the arrival of midnight. The lighthouse outside emitted a soft white light, tinting the entire vehicle interior with a faint layer of white. "Big brother Wu Di, what will it be tomorrow?" Lin Yu, lying in the passenger seat, suddenly asked softly. Wu Di opened his eyes and looked at the towering lighthouse ahead, saying in a firm tone, "No matter what it is, we will definitely be the ones who survive until the end." Lin Yu nodded vigorously. "I believe in you, big brother Wu Di." The interior of the vehicle fell silent once more. Exactly 12 midnight. The talent refreshed on time. Wu Di felt a bit excited. For him now, the most important thing was to solve the problem of not being able to take the Heavy Hammer Black Armor Legion Unit 01 out of the domain space. He wanted to know even more what terrifying level Unit 01 would reach after being strengthened by the Omni Furnace. Xiao Yu. Amplification. "Okay, big brother Wu Di." Lin Yu immediately reached out her hand and applied talent amplification to Wu Di. "Wait here, call me if anything happens. I'll be out in a bit." Wu Di said to Lin Yu, then got up and entered the domain space. Chapter 249, World Tree Seed. Inside the domain space, it was still a bright and sunny day. In the distance, that 12-meter-tall steel giant stood silently on the ground, like a mute guardian deity. Wu Di took a deep breath, walked up to Unit 01, and activated his Omni Furnace talent. "Ding, do you choose Heavy Hammer Black Armor Legion Unit 01 as the primary sacrifice? No secondary sacrifice selected?" "Confirm." However, in the next second, the system popped up a prompt he had never seen before. Ding detected that the target is a life-form individual with independent consciousness. Enhancement fusion cannot be performed. Wu Di was completely stunned, staring blankly at the prompt for several seconds before he finally reacted. "A life-form individual?" he muttered to himself, looking up at Unit 01. "Isn't it a machine? How did it become a living being?" He tried a few more times, but the result was the exact same prompt. Realizing that Lin Yu's talent amplification could only last for 10 minutes, Wu Di stopped dwelling on it. His gaze turned to the Earth core and the Earth Rock Armor Vehicle symbiotic module in his personal space, and he hesitated for a moment. His red-quality ancient construct armor was sufficient for now, so the Earth Rock armor could be put aside for the time being. "Forget it. Let's enhance this first." "Ding, do you choose the Earth core as the primary sacrifice? No secondary sacrifice selected." "Ding, talent used successfully. Promoted to rank 2. Obtained World Tree Seed. Special item." Looking at the attributes on the panel, a flash of disappointment crossed Wu Di's heart. He had originally thought that with Lin Yu's talent amplification, he could at least promote it to rank 3 this time. He hadn't expected it to only reach rank 2. But when he saw the description of the World Tree Seed, the disappointment in his eyes was instantly replaced by immense surprise. World Tree Seed, special item, contains the most primordial life force from the dawn of the universe, the origin of life forms. Once planted, it will permanently bind to the space it is in. Its root system will extend infinitely in all directions, penetrating every inch of soil and air. It will purify all negative existences, bringing life back to a dead space. The air will be filled with a dense breath of life, which can gently heal the wounds and pains of all living organisms. It will autonomously absorb energy to grow continuously. As the tree body grows and the roots expand, it will gradually unlock abilities such as natural rhythm regulation, basic element and mineral generation, and the gestation of new life forms. It will evolve infinitely over time. Note, it existed before life was born, and it will still exist after life perishes. Looking at the attribute description before him, Wu Di had only one thought. Could it be? This was prepared specifically for my domain space. Wu Di quickly took the seed out of his personal space. It was a seed that was emerald green all over and emitted a soft white light. It was only the size of a fingernail, but holding it in his palm, he could feel a warm and majestic life aura flowing slowly into his body through his fingertips, invigorating his tired spirit. How should I plant this thing? After thinking briefly, Woody walked to the very center of the domain space. He casually dug a shallow pit in the ground, buried the seed, and poured a little mineral water on it. This should work, right? In the next second, something magical happened. On the originally bare ground, a tender green sprout instantly popped up. The sprout grew frantically at a speed visible to the naked eye, branching and leafing out. In just a few seconds, it grew into a towering tree 5 meters tall. The trunk was thick and upright, the branches and leaves were lush, and the emerald leaves shimmered with spots of fluorescence. A dense life aura spread out in all directions like a tide, refreshing the heart and soul. Woody was surprised to find that even the ground around the tree, which had been hard dirt, had become soft and fertile, and even patches of tender green grass had sprouted. Could it be that this place will really grow into a complete world in the future? He reached out and gently stroked the rough trunk, his heart filled with shock. Just then, in the originally windless domain space, the branches of the world tree actually swayed gently. A few emerald leaves slowly drifted down, landing right in Woody's palm. Woody snapped his hand back, staring at the tree with wide eyes. "Are you conscious too?" The world tree did not respond, but its branches swayed gently again, as if nodding. Woody suppressed the shock in his heart, and with a thought, took out an inconspicuous seed from his personal space. It was the spiritual essence fruit seed that Lin Shi had found in a silver supply crate earlier. Because there was no suitable planting environment at the time, it had been left in a corner gathering dust. Spiritual essence fruit seed, special crop seed. A strange seed containing gentle life spiritual energy. The resulting fruit has a sweet and crisp taste. Consuming it can permanently increase a small amount of physique with no side effects. Planting requirement. Requires an environment rich in life spiritual energy to grow. Maturity cycle, 72 hours. Finally, there's a place suitable for it to grow. Woody muttered to himself as he looked at the seed in his hand. When I get the chance, I'll enhance it before planting it. Although I can only use my talent once a day now, and the speed is a bit slow, every harvest now is far beyond what I could get before. Gathering his thoughts, Woody looked at the lush world tree before him, and his nerves, which had been tense because of the final day, completely relaxed. He didn't stay long, and walked straight out of the domain space, returning to the driver's seat. Lin Yu was sitting obediently in the passenger seat. Seeing Woody come out, she immediately leaned over. She secretly opened the vehicle information panel and took a look, finding that the vehicle points had indeed not changed at all. She blinked her eyes curiously, but didn't ask anything. Sitting in the driver's seat, Woody carefully flipped through various blueprints and items in his personal space and sighed softly. The night passed in silence. The next morning, 5:58 a.m., Lin Shi, Su Wanwan, and Shu Kexin had already packed everything early and were all gathered in the driver's cabin. No one spoke. They just quietly watched the snow-white lighthouse outside the window, waiting for 6 o'clock to arrive. Time passed second by second. At the exact moment it hit 6 o'clock, a familiar white light flashed. When everyone opened their eyes again, the eternal lighthouse and the crowded group of vehicles had vanished without a trace. In their place was a vast, boundless wasteland. The sky was a clear azure blue, and golden sunlight spilled onto the earth without any obstruction, warm and bright. This was the first time they had seen such brilliant sunshine since entering this world. There was no black mist, no gloom, and no suffocating sense of oppression, making everyone feel incredibly refreshed. 3 eye-catching announcements popped up on the system interface right on time. Chapter 250, Making a Profit. Ding, Dungeon Wasteland Gallop has opened. Ding, Dungeon Rules. 1. Dungeon Duration, today 6:18, 12 hours in total. All survivors will receive 1 point for every 1 kilometer traveled. 3. During the dungeon, points can be used for vehicle modification and upgrades. Looking at the system announcement before them, Everyone in the vehicle was stunned. "That's it," Shu Kexen was the first to react, saying with a look of disbelief, "This system announcement is as unreliable as ever. It didn't even explain things clearly. What can be modified on the vehicle? What can be upgraded? It didn't say anything." "Yeah." Lin Shi frowned, her tone worried. "This seems similar to what we've encountered before. I wonder if there's any danger." "Sister, why think so much?" Lin Yu immediately jumped up in excitement. "Anyway, we just keep running. The faster we run, the more points we get. With Xiao Shi here, we're definitely going to make a killing this time." Wu Di looked at the system announcement, and without thinking much, gave the order, "Xiao Shi, full speed ahead." "Understood, Commander. Switch to maximum speed of 300 kilometers per hour. I will monitor all situations within radar range at all times and report any abnormalities immediately." The RV shuddered and shot out like an arrow from a bow. The scenery outside the window receded rapidly, and the golden sunlight spilled over the vehicle's body, casting long shadows. "Sigh, why is it this endless wasteland again?" Shu Kexen leaned against the window and complained with a pout. "No creativity at all. They could at least change it to a forest or a lake or something. I'm tired of looking at yellow dirt slopes every day." What Wu Di was most interested in right now was the vehicle modification and upgrades mentioned in the announcement. Previously, vehicle upgrades only relied on vehicle upgrade books, and modifications only relied on blueprints. If points could be used directly for vehicle modification and upgrades this time, it would undoubtedly be great news. The interior of the vehicle fell silent. Wu Di sat in the driver's seat, looking at the road stretching straight toward the horizon. After experiencing 7 full days of the pitch-black fog phase, seeing this sunny weather made his mood exceptionally pleasant, even if there was only barren land outside. The rest of the journey was peaceful. The RV traveled steadily at 300 kilometers per hour. There were no abnormal signals on the radar, and no monsters were encountered. In the communication channel, other players were saying the same thing. "Isn't it too quiet? I've been running for 2 hours and haven't seen a single ghost of a shadow." "Me too. It's been smooth sailing all the way. Is this really an apocalyptic survival game? It's so quiet that I'm starting to panic. I always feel like the system is cooking up something big." "Don't jinx it. Isn't it good to earn points steadily? By the way, does anyone know how to upgrade or modify the vehicle?" Until the time reached 9 sharp. "Commander, abnormal energy consumption detected?" Xiao Shi's voice suddenly sounded. "The current energy consumption rate is twice the normal rate. No other impacts for now." Hearing this, Wu Di's brow furrowed instantly. Energy consumption doubled? Was it that simple? He immediately opened the regional communication channel and carefully browsed the messages inside. Sure enough, almost everyone had noticed this problem. "Have you guys noticed the fuel consumption is off? It's clearly much faster than before." "What's there to fear? Didn't yesterday's completion treasure chest just give 300 units? Even if consumption doubles, it's enough to run for a day." "Have you encountered anything else? It's so quiet, it's making me nervous." "Do you really believe this survival game would be so kind to us? I always feel like things aren't that simple." "Trading food and water for fuel, 1-to-5 ratio. Orders are already up on the trading channel. Hurry if you want some." "Do you think the fuel consumption will continue to increase today? What if the 300 units we were given aren't enough for today's run?" "Holy crap! Now that you mention it, I think it's possible too. The system loves playing these kinds of tricks." Wu Di was looking at the content in the communication channel when Lin Yue's voice suddenly sounded in his ear. "Big brother Wu Di." Lin Yu excitedly shook his arm, her eyes sparkling with a strange light. "Look at the trading channel. So many people are buying fuel. The price is rising so fast. We have so much fuel. Should we sell some and make a profit?" Since Lin Yue and Lin Shi arrived, Wu Di had handed all the material trading over to them. He knew Lin Yue had been keeping an eye on the trading channel, but he hadn't expected her to be so interested in it. Lin Yu had been responsible for the previous few trades as well, and it seemed she indeed hadn't let him lose out. Seeing Lin Yu like this, Wu Di smiled and nodded. "All right, I'll leave it to you. You decide how much to sell and at what price." "Leave it to me, big brother Wu Di." Lin Yui immediately patted her chest and promised, "I guarantee I'll get the best price for you." After saying that, she rushed excitedly into the domain space. All the materials were stored collectively in the domain space. Looking at Lin Yu's cheerful back, Wu Di smiled helplessly. "Boss, isn't she full of energy?" Shu Kexen suddenly leaned in, winking as she said, "Do you feel a heartthrob feeling?" Wu Di slapped her forehead directly. "Can't you be a bit more normal?" "Boss, which one of us is actually the abnormal one?" Shu Kexen held her forehead and said with a look of grievance. Seeing that Wu Di seemed ready to strike again, she quickly turned and ran toward the domain space, leaving behind a sentence, "I'm going to accompany Xiao Yu. I'm not playing with you anymore." Wu Di shook his head and looked at the points continuously ticking upward on the wristband interface. From 6 until now, in 3 hours they had already traveled 900 kilometers and earned 900 points, and this number was still increasing. He now only wanted to know what these points could be used for in terms of modification and upgrades. Not long after, Lin Yu and Shu Kexen ran out of the domain space together. "Big brother Wu Di," Lin Yue said with a look of surprise. "There's a huge tree in the domain space. Did you plant it? It feels so comfortable staying inside, my whole body feels warm, and I'm not tired at all." "Yeah, boss," Shu Kexen added. "Next time you get something good, can you let us know? We didn't even know there was a new tree in the domain space." Lin Shi and Su Wanwan's attention was also drawn by their words, and they looked at Wu Di curiously. Wu Di looked at the chirping girls before him with a headache. All right, you guys go in and take a look together." Chapter 251, Modification and Upgrade Point. "Yay!" Lin Yu cheered and ran into the domain space with Shu Kexen and Su Wanwan. Lin Shi smiled and followed them, a hint of curiosity about the new changes in the domain space hidden in her eyes. Time passed minute by minute. The RV continued to speed across the wasteland at 300 kilometers per hour. Outside the window, the yellow earth and sparse dead trees receded rapidly, a monotonous sight that was somehow inexplicably reassuring. During this time, the others came out of the domain space one after another to eat lunch, and without staying long, they excitedly hurried back inside. Only Wu Di was left sitting in the driver's seat, his gaze fixed on the endless wasteland outside the window. Time quietly reached 1:15 p.m. "Commander, a building has been detected 1,000 meters ahead." Preparing to approach and park, Xiaoxi's voice suddenly rang out, breaking the silence in the cabin. Wu Di immediately sat up straight and looked at the center console screen. On a patch of open ground to the right of the highway stood a solitary small building, about 50 square meters in size. The side facing the road had no doors or windows, making it look particularly out of place. On the open ground next to the building stood a silver machine over a person's height, similar in appearance to the supply point machines they had encountered before. The RV slowly stopped on the open ground in front of the building. Wu Di pushed open the door and walked straight toward the silver machine. He thought to himself that this should be the place for vehicle upgrades and modifications mentioned in the system announcement. Walking up to the machine, Wu Di reached out and lightly touched the screen. The interface lit up instantly, clearly displaying two prominent options: modification and upgrade. There were no extra explanations, its conciseness identical to the system's usual style. Wu Di first clicked on the modification interface. The interface design was very simple, listing various vehicle exteriors, sports cars, off-road vehicles, vans, and even heavy trucks, a wide variety. Under each exterior, the requirements were clearly marked: 300 points plus certain basic materials. Wu Di quickly scanned all the options, and the interest in his eyes faded instantly. His current RV had a massive amount of space, capable of accommodating everyone while storing a large amount of supplies. Whether for survival or storage, it was currently the optimal solution. These modification options seemed diverse but were actually flashy and impractical. Aside from changing the appearance, they had no practical significance and would instead sacrifice the vehicle's utility. Surely no foolish player would choose to modify their vehicle, Wu Di muttered to himself. With a light tap of his finger, he closed the modification interface and opened the upgrade interface instead. The content of the upgrade interface was slightly richer, clearly marking the points required for each level of vehicle upgrade. Upgrading a level 3 vehicle to a level 4 vehicle requires 300 points and no materials. Upgrading a level 4 vehicle to a level 5 vehicle requires 2,500 points and no materials. Upgrading a level 5 vehicle to a level 6 vehicle also requires 2,500 points. Additionally, there was a vehicle accessory upgrade option at the bottom of the interface, stating any vehicle accessory can be directly upgraded to blue quality for 200 points. Wu Di quickly did the math in his head. 2,500 points meant needing to drive 2,500 kilometers. Even maintaining a speed of over 200 kilometers per hour for the entire duration, it would take 12.5 hours of continuous driving, almost the entire 12-hour duration of the dungeon, without any stops. He knew clearly that currently, aside from himself, the highest vehicle level among all survivors was only level 5, and many people were still using ordinary level 3 or level 4 vehicles. The difficulty of upgrading a vehicle could well be imagined. And now, the system had suddenly opened such a risk-free upgrade path. As long as one stepped on the gas and drove far enough, they could easily upgrade. This made Wu Di feel inexplicably uncomfortable. The system is being so generous this time. What exactly does it mean? Wu Di frowned, feeling that there must be another motive behind the system's actions. But he didn't dwell on it too much, because a more awkward problem came into view. This upgrade and modification were actually completely useless to him. Modification was flashy and impractical, completely unnecessary meanwhile. The highest level on the upgrade interface was only level 6. His RV was already level 6, so he couldn't continue upgrading here. As for accessory upgrades, he didn't even need to think about it. His lowest level items were already purple quality. Wu Di was completely dumbfounded. He stood frozen in place, staring at the screen for a long time before muttering a complaint. What is this? Does this mean this stage of the dungeon has no meaning for me at all? Unwilling to give up, he exited the upgrade interface and carefully re-examined the machine's main interface, not missing a single detail even in the corners. But the screen only had the 4 large characters for upgrade and modification, and no other options. He repeatedly opened the 2 sub-interfaces, checking word by word. After fussing for a full 10 minutes, he finally gave up completely. Wu Di returned to the RV and lay back in the driver's seat, looking quite helpless. He had originally looked forward to further boosting the RV's strength through this dungeon, but he hadn't expected this result. "Commander, do we need to continue forward?" Xiaoxi's voice rang out at the right time. Wu Di sighed and waved his hand. "Xiaoxi, continue forward at full speed." "Received, Commander. We will continue to maintain a speed of 300 while moving forward. The radar will continuously monitor the surroundings. Xiaoxi will report any anomalies immediately." Wu Di leaned against the back of the seat, closed his eyes, and quietly comforted himself. "It's fine. If anything, this proves I've developed too quickly, so fast that even this survival game didn't expect a player to reach a level 6 vehicle ahead of time." Thinking this way, the sense of disappointment in his heart dissipated quite a bit, and his tense nerves gradually relaxed. He simply stopped overthinking and lay in the driver's seat to rest with his eyes closed. The RV continued to speed across the wasteland. In the blink of an eye, the time reached 2:58 p.m. "Commander, a building has been detected 1,000 meters ahead, identical to the one found previously. Preparing to approach and park." Xiaoxi's prompt sounded again. Wu Di slowly opened his eyes and looked at the center console screen. What was displayed on the screen was indeed a building identical to the one before, with a silver modification machine standing next to it as well. He had originally wanted to just let Xiaoxi drive past, since there was no need to waste more time, but the words stopped at the tip of his tongue. What if there was a different discovery this time? "Let's go take a look. What if it's different?" The RV slowly came to a stop. Wu Di got up and left the vehicle once more, walking straight toward the silver machine. He skillfully opened the interface. Sure enough, there were still only the 2 options of modification and upgrade, and the content inside was exactly the same as before, without any changes. I shouldn't have gotten my hopes up. Wu Dai rolled his eyes, his tone full of helplessness. He turned around, ready to return to the vehicle and continue on. Just then, a high-pitched, piercing roar of a sports car engine suddenly came from the distance, approaching rapidly and breaking the silence of the wasteland. Wu Di's footsteps paused, but he continued walking toward the RV. Chapter 252, Counter Kill. But in the next second, the sharp screech of brakes rang out as a bright red supercar sped toward him. The car sat low, modified with a massive rear wing and an exaggerated exhaust pipe. It gleamed brilliantly in the sunlight, yet exuded an air of arrogance. A cold glint flashed in Wu Di's eyes. He instinctively stepped aside to dodge, his footing steady as he stopped. The sports car practically grazed Wu Di's body as it slid past, leaving 2 long black skid marks on the ground and kicking up a cloud of dust. The sports car stopped not far away, and the doors opened. 2 young men in their 20s stepped out. Their hair was dyed in various colors, and they wore filthy clothes covered in dust and grease. Their faces were also smudged with grime, making them look incredibly slovenly, yet each held an M9 pistol with the muzzles pointing slightly downward. One of the men with yellow hair smiled, waved his hand, and said, "Sorry about that, brother. Just modified the car and didn't have full control, almost hit you." The other man with green hair impatiently shoved the yellow-haired one. "Stop pretending. You think you're an actor?" He raised his pistol, aiming it at Wu Dai, and said, "You're lucky we didn't run you over just now. And I guess luck is on our side, too. If you know what's good for you, hand over everything in your personal space. I might consider sparing your life." Wu Di ignored their shouting. His gaze fell upon the red sports car, a hint of confusion flashing in the depths of his eyes. He was truly curious whether such a flashy and impractical modification offered any special benefits that would make someone willing to spend points and materials to turn a vehicle into this. After looking for a while, he couldn't see anything noteworthy. Wu Di withdrew his gaze and looked at the 2 robbers in front of him. His figure suddenly moved, his speed so fast he left only an afterimage. The 2 men only felt a blur before their eyes. Before they could react, Wu Di had already appeared in front of the green-haired man. The green-haired man's pupils constricted as he instinctively tried to pull the trigger, but Wu Di gripped his wrist in a death vice. With a crisp crack, the sound of bone fracturing, the man's wrist snapped. The pistol fell, and Wu Di caught it midair. "Ah!" The green-haired man let out a shrill scream, his face turning as pale as paper, as cold sweat poured down his cheeks. Wu Di kicked the green-haired man in the chest. The man flew back like a tattered sack, slamming heavily onto the wasteland soil. After rolling a few times, he stopped moving entirely, his breath gone. The yellow-haired man watched all of this, dumbfounded. The pistol in his hand nearly fell to the ground, his legs shaking uncontrollably and his face filled with terror. He never imagined this man would be so powerful. Wu Di turned around, his gaze landing on the yellow-haired man. His tone was icy, devoid of any warmth. "I'll give you a choice now. Answer my questions properly, and I might consider sparing your life." The yellow-haired man trembled all over. Only then did he snap out of it, and his survival instinct drove him to immediately raise his pistol, trying to aim at Wu Di in a final struggle. Bang! Wu Di pulled the trigger without hesitation. The bullet struck the yellow-haired man's wrist with precision, and the pistol instantly fell to the ground. The man let out a cry of pain, clutching his injured wrist, his face deathly pale. "Don't kill me! Don't kill me, big brother! I'll tell you everything! I'll tell you everything!" The yellow-haired man fell to his knees with a thud, kowtowing repeatedly in plea. His forehead was soon bloodied, and he shook so violently he didn't even have the courage to look up at Wu Di. "Is there anything special about this car you modified?" Wu Di asked coldly, his tone flat. "No, big brother," the yellow-haired man answered shakily, his voice trembling. "We just thought the look was cool, so we spent points and materials to modify it. There really isn't anything special." Seeing Wu Di frown, the yellow-haired man was scared out of his wits and quickly added, Wait. After the modification, the speed increased. The top speed can reach 300. I was too nervous just now and forgot to say it." I really didn't mean to lie to you, big brother. Are there any requirements for the modification? Wu Di continued to ask, unmoved by his pleading. Yes, yes. The yellow-haired man nodded frantically, speaking rapidly. Besides 300 points, you also need to provide a portion of the corresponding basic materials. Big brother, I've really told you everything. Please don't kill me. Wu Di glanced at him and said nothing. Bang! A gunshot rang out, and the yellow-haired man collapsed to the ground, his breath completely gone. If you hadn't made a move, I wouldn't have either, Wu Di said softly, his tone indifferent yet carrying an unquestionable finality. But since you moved first, you can't blame me. If you want to kill someone, you must be prepared to be killed yourself. Wu Di walked around the sports car, then opened the door to inspect it carefully. As it turned out, aside from a top speed of 300 kilometers per hour, the car truly had nothing special about it. Not only that, its space was extremely small, only enough for 2 people, its storage space was almost zero, the body was very thin, and its defense was pathetically weak. After confirming there was nothing special, Wu Di reached out and activated the vehicle decomposition function. In the end, only a vehicle core remained, falling to the ground. Wu Di bent down to pick up the vehicle core, thinking to himself as he walked toward the RV, what exactly is the use of this vehicle core? Aside from using a fuel and upgrading to a level 3 or level 4 vehicle at the start, this thing had been useless since. He didn't know if there was any point in keeping it. As soon as he boarded, Xiaoxi's voice rang out. Commander, Xiaoxi currently lacks autonomous combat authority. I am very sorry for not being able to help you. Shall we continue forward? Continue the journey. After saying that, Wu Di recalled the prompt the system had given when he was strengthening Unit 01 last night. A question suddenly popped into his mind. Is Xiaoxi also this kind of life-form entity? Wu Di sat in the driver's seat, watching the wasteland recede rapidly outside the window, lost in thought. As the RV continued forward, it wasn't long before Lin Yu suddenly ran out from the domain space, her face full of excitement. As soon as she emerged, she shouted, Big Brother Wu Di! Big Brother Wu Di! The price of basic materials on the trading channel is skyrocketing again. Should we sell some of our basic materials and trade for something else? Seeing Lin Yu's eyes shining with excitement, Wu Di smiled helplessly, his tone softening significantly. You decide. We don't have much need for basic materials right now. Okay, Big Brother Wu Di, I'll make sure to get a good price for you. I'm off to get busy. Hearing this, Lin Yu spoke cheerfully and hurried back into the domain space. Wu Di watched her retreating back and shook his head helplessly, though the corners of his mouth couldn't help but turn up slightly. Chapter 253. Weapon Slot Increase. During the next part of the journey, they encountered an identical modification and upgrade point every certain distance. Wu Di, still not giving up, would get out to check each time, hoping to find different options. However, he returned disappointed every time. The machine's interface always only had the modify and upgrade options, and the content within them never changed. The RV sped across the wasteland, and the numbers on the points panel kept ticking up, unknowingly surpassing 3,000. Wu Di leaned against the driver's seat, his gaze occasionally falling on the points panel with some frustration. Saving up so many points but finding nowhere to spend them was a truly stifling feeling. The time reached 1638. Xiaoxi's notification sounded, Commander, a modification and upgrade point has been detected 1,000 meters ahead. Preparing to stop. The RV slowly came to a halt. Wu Di stepped out and walked straight toward the silver modification machine. He took a deep breath, reached out, and tapped on the machine's main interface. This time, his eyes suddenly lit up. Within the Modify interface, an option he had never seen before had actually appeared. Increase Vehicle Weapon Mount Slot X1. It was clearly marked with the required points, 3,000. Finally, a place to use my points. Wu Di felt a surge of excitement, and his previous disappointment and frustration vanished instantly. His current points were just over 3,100. Although 3,000 points was almost his entire balance, at the very least, these points finally had a purpose, ensuring this dungeon wouldn't be meaningless for him. Could it be because my points reached 3,000 that this hidden option was unlocked? Wu Di's heart stirred, feeling that this was a strong possibility. Without the slightest hesitation, he tapped the screen, directly selecting the modification option. Ding. Confirm spending 3,000 points to add one weapon mount slot to the vehicle. Ding. Please drive the vehicle into the modification bay. No players are allowed inside the vehicle. Estimated modification time, 30 minutes. Wu Di was stunned for a moment. He had thought it would be completed instantly, like when installing vehicle items before, not expecting it to be this troublesome. But he didn't hesitate. On one hand, this was currently the only place to spend points. On the other hand, while this weapon mount slot might not be a necessity for other players, it held extraordinary significance for him. His RV was already equipped with a 30mm chain gun and a Heaven's Punishment electromagnetic railgun, occupying 2 weapon mount slots. Although the RV now had 1 empty slot since it had been upgraded to a level 6 vehicle, he couldn't ignore how powerful his Omni Furnace talent was. If he one day used his talent to enhance a new vehicle weapon and had nowhere to install it, that would be truly painful. Especially when facing the Mistrock Titan earlier, it was precisely because they had enough weapon mount slots that they managed to survive. Thinking of this, Wu Di decisively opened the team channel and sent a message. The RV is undergoing modification. Everyone come out first. In less than a minute, Lin Shi, Lin Yu, Zhu Kexin, and Su Wanwan all stepped out from the domain space. Lin Yu had her head down, clearly busy monitoring the activity on the trading channel. Zhu Kexin stretched lazily, while Lin Shi and Su Wanwan stood to the side, looking curiously at the nearby modification point. "Boss, are we modifying the RV?" Zhu Kexin was rarely serious as she leaned toward Wu Di and asked curiously, "What are you planning to change it into?" "I think our current RV is already great. It's big and safe." Wu Di didn't reply to her immediately. Instead, he shouted toward the RV. "Xiaoxi, drive in. Enter the modification bay." Although the RV didn't have an external audio output function, Xiaoxi could still clearly hear Wu Di speaking outside. The RV slowly started up and drove into the modification workshop. The heavy steel doors slowly lowered, sealing the entire workshop. Wu Di looked at the tightly closed steel doors before him, feeling a bit curious, but he didn't overthink it. He turned around and said to the others, "The modification will take 30 minutes. Let's wait here for a while." "Big brother Wu Di, I saw people on the communication channel saying that it's very easy to run into other players at these modification and upgrade points," Lin Shi said with a frown, her tone carrying a hint of worry. "Many players take advantage of others when their vehicles are being modified and cannot move to attack them. What's there to be afraid of?" Zhu Kexin immediately raised the cloud-piercing bow in her hand and said with a disdainful tone, "Whoever dares to come and rob us, I'll put an arrow through their head. Besides, boss is here. Shixi, don't worry." Su Wanwan didn't say a word, only silently tightening her grip on the handgun in her hand, her eyes alertly scanning the surrounding wasteland. Wu Di looked at them and said in a steady tone, "Nothing will happen. You don't need to be so tense." Exactly. Zhu Kexin chimed in immediately, looking at Wu Di with a grin. "Even that Mistrock Titan thing was dealt with by boss. Now, even if boss suddenly turned into a giant of light, I wouldn't be surprised." Hearing Zhu Kexin's nonsensical teasing, both Lin Shi and Su Wanwan couldn't help but chuckle softly, and the originally tense atmosphere eased considerably. Wu Di completely ignored Zhu Kexin's rambling now, only giving her a sharp glare to signal her to shut up. Lin Shi smiled and changed the subject. "By the way, big brother Wu Di, that tree is truly magical. Staying inside now not only makes one's mood exceptionally pleasant, but even the vegetables we planted seem to have become different." "Yes," Su Wanwan nodded as well and said softly, "I don't know if it's a good or bad thing, but those vegetables seem to have a longer maturation period now. However, they look different than before. The leaves are greener and have more of a luster." "Yeah, boss, there's another thing." Zhu Kexin also leaned in, looking curious. "Did you secretly expand the domain space again? I noticed today that the space inside seems to have grown. It's quite a bit wider than before." Hearing the girls talk one after another about the changes in the domain space, The corners of Wudi's mouth curled up slightly. He had long guessed that the World Tree would bring changes, but he hadn't expected the effects to manifest so quickly. "We'll talk about that tonight," Wudi said. "For now, let's focus on waiting for the RV's modification to finish." The group nodded and stood by the modification point, keeping an eye on the communication channel while waiting quietly. Time passed bit by bit. In less than 20 minutes, the rapid roar of a vehicle engine suddenly came from the distance, getting closer and clearer, breaking the silence of the wasteland. Everyone immediately looked toward the direction of the sound, their eyes filled with vigilance. Even Lin Yue, who had been busy trading materials, looked up toward the source of the noise. Chapter 254. A Massive Profit. The car window rolled down, revealing two middle-aged men with aggressive, fleshy faces. One was bald, his scalp glistening with oil. The other had a long scar running from the corner of his eye down to his jawline. Their eyes were fierce as they swept over Wudi and the others, finally lingering on Lin Shi, Xu Kexin, and Su Wanwan, with lecherous and greedy smiles. "Yo, I didn't expect to run into such pretty little sisters here." The bald man poked his head out and shouted in a flippant and arrogant tone, "Two of you come over and play with us big brothers. If we're in a good mood, we might let you live and even share some bread and water with you. How about it?" "That's right," the scar-faced man chimed in, his voice overbearing and filled with blatant threats. "Let me tell you, this truck of ours was just upgraded to be fully bulletproof. Those crappy guns in your hands won't even scratch it. If you know what's good for you, you'll behave and listen. Otherwise, don't blame us brothers for being unkind." Lin Yu and the others turned pale with rage. Xu Kexin was shaking with anger as she abruptly drew her cloud-piercing bow. Knocking a sharp arrow, she aimed it at the two men in the pickup truck and hissed through gritted teeth, "I'll shoot these two bastards dead. How dare they speak like that? They're practically begging for death." Wudi didn't say a word. With a mere thought, the 3-meter-tall Titan's wrath mecha instantly encased his entire body. The smiles on the two men's faces froze instantly. Their eyes widened like brass bells, and their mouths hung open wide enough to fit an egg. Their faces were filled with utter disbelief, and their breathing even stopped for several seconds. "Is that a mecha?" the bald man cried out, his voice trembling uncontrollably. His previous arrogance and lecherousness vanished without a trace, replaced by a fear that seeped into his very bones. How can there be a mecha? This is impossible." However, Wudi didn't give them any time to react as he charged directly toward the pickup truck. Bang! A deafening roar echoed. Wudi's iron fist, carrying immense power, smashed directly into the front of the pickup. The supposedly fully bulletproof hood caved in and deformed instantly, the entire front end crushed flat as the metal twisted with a piercing screech. He reached out and grabbed the roof of the pickup, and with a slight exertion of his arm, he ripped it off. With a loud tear, the entire roof was peeled away like a piece of scrap paper. He tossed it aside, and the roof landed on the wasteland over 10 meters away with a loud thud, kicking up a cloud of dust. Boom! Another dull roar followed. Wudi raised his foot and stomped down on the pickup's chassis. The entire truck was instantly crushed into a pile of twisted scrap metal, parts scattering everywhere until it was no longer recognizable. The two bandits inside the pickup also drew their final breaths with that single stomp. Lin Yu, Xu Kexin, Lin Shi, and Su Wanwan stood to the side, completely stunned. They remained motionless, their faces etched with unbelievable shock, unable to say a word for a long time. After a good while, Lin Yue was the first to snap out of it. She jumped up in excitement and shouted loudly, "Wow, Big Brother Wudi, you're so amazing." As she cheered, she ran to Wudi's side and circled the mecha several times, looking up curiously. "Big Brother Wudi, can that 12-meter-tall giant mecha inside the domain space be worn like this too?" "That was too easy on them." Xu Kexin also recovered, lowering her bow but still looking displeased. "Boss, next time just let me handle trash like that. They really pissed me off." With a thought from Wudi, the Titan's wrath mecha dissipated into a stream of light, revealing his original form. "We'll talk about that later. The modification is almost finished." The others nodded, their gazes simultaneously turning toward the tightly closed steel doors. Time trickled by, and in the blink of an eye, the 30-minute modification period was up. Clang. The steel doors slowly rose. When they looked closely, the exterior of the RV hadn't changed at all. It looked exactly the same as it did before the modification. The RV drove smoothly out of the modification workshop and stopped in an open space by the roadside. The group boarded one by one, and as soon as the door closed, Xiaoxi's voice rang out. "Commander, the vehicle modification is complete. Current total vehicle weapon slots 4, used 2, vacant 2. Wu Dai nodded. "Xiaoxi, continue forward." "Understood, Commander. Switching to maximum speed of 300 kilometers per hour. Xiaoxi will continue to monitor the surroundings." The rest of the journey was peaceful. They didn't encounter any other players or any abnormalities. After a simple dinner, they sat quietly in the cabin, waiting for 18 to arrive. Time ticked away, second by second. Just as Su Wanwan's talent treasure chest refreshed on time, everyone's system interface popped up simultaneously. Ding! The Wasteland Sprint dungeon has officially ended. All unused points have been automatically cleared. From now until 6 a.m. tomorrow is a safe period. The cabin fell silent. "Xiaoxi, stop the car," Wudi said. "Understood, Commander," stopping smoothly. Wudi looked at the others and said, "We'll rest here tonight and set off again at 6 tomorrow morning." Su Wanwan nodded and reached out to open her talent treasure chest. She casually displayed the blueprint's attributes to everyone. Vehicle-mounted constant temperature purification air conditioner design blueprint. Purple quality. Vehicle item. Provides precise constant temperature control for the entire cabin, with a temperature adjustment range of -10 degrees Celsius to 50 degrees Celsius. Features a triple air purification system that filters most harmful gases and dust, while continuously releasing negative oxygen ions. Energy consumption plus 5%. Installation requirement, level 2 or higher vehicle. Crafting requirements, metal block X10, electronic component X10, plastic X5, quantum essence X5. Finally, it's not weapons or ammunition. Xu Kexin let out a long sigh of relief, saying with emotion, "I was starting to think Wanwan's chest could only drop bullets." "Sister Wanwan has such great luck. Another purple quality blueprint," Lin Yu said with a smile. Su Wanwan simply smiled and handed the blueprint to Wu Di. All right, Wanwan, come on, I'll take you to see something nice," Xu Kexin said, pulling Su Wanwan toward the bedroom. Lin Chi also shook her head with a smile and followed them inside. The cabin suddenly became quiet, leaving only Wu Di sitting in the driver's seat. Not long after, Lin Yue came skipping over and plopped down in the passenger seat. With an irrepressible, excited smile on her face, she began to report the day's trading results to Wu Di. "Big brother Wu Di, we made a killing today." Lin Yue counted on her fingers, speaking seriously. "The 4 of us had a total of 12 trading opportunities. I used 10 of them entirely to trade for quantum essence. I spent 1,000 units of fuel to get 50 units of quantum essence. For the remaining 2 trading opportunities, I used 650 units of fuel to trade for 2 silver-grade talent fragments." Chapter 255. Restrictions lifted in the new zone. "But it's such a pity, Big Brother Wu Di." At this point, Lin Yue sighed, a look of frustration crossing her face. "If it weren't for the limit on the number of trades, I could have exchanged for so much more today." "It's fine." Wu Di looked at her unwilling expression, his tone carrying a rare hint of gentleness. "You've already done very well. Get some rest early." After saying that, he turned to look out at the pitch-black wilderness. He wasn't just comforting Lin Yu, they truly had been lacking rare materials like quantum essence before. But now, it was no longer materials he lacked, but rather the use of his omni-furnace talent, which could only be used once a day. This was the true bottleneck restricting their growth in strength. "I'll be right here, Big Brother Wu Di. Just call me if you need anything." After Lin Yue finished speaking, she lay back quietly in the passenger seat, seemingly back to studying the contents of the communication channel. Time flowed steadily. The cabin was silent. Exactly midnight. His talent refreshed on time. Wu Di turned his head, just about to ask Lin Yu to apply talent amplification to him, only to see her curled up in the passenger seat, sleeping soundly. Her long eyelashes cast a faint shadow under her eyelids, and a slight smile played at the corners of her mouth. Looking at her adorable appearance, a smile unconsciously touched the corners of Wu Di's lips. He hesitated for a moment, but ultimately gave up on the idea of waking her. "I'll do it tomorrow." With that thought, Wu Di lay directly back in the driver's seat and closed his eyes. What will tomorrow bring? The night passed in silence. The next morning, 5:56 a.m., everyone in the cabin had already woken up early, packed everything, and gathered in the cockpit, quietly waiting for 6 o'clock to arrive. Lin Yue leaned close to Wu Di and whispered, "Big brother Wu Di, I accidentally fell asleep last night. Why didn't you wake me?" "You were sleeping so soundly, I didn't want to wake you," Wu Di said, shaking his head. "Oh." Lin Yue nodded, but her face still held a hint of curiosity. She peeked at Wu Di, still wondering why he hadn't needed her talent amplification yesterday. "Xiao Yu, what secrets are you whispering to the boss?" Xu Kexin suddenly poked her head out from behind, deliberately lowering her voice and giving Lin Yue a huge fright. "Sister Xu," Lin Yue patted her chest and gave Xu Kexin a reproachful glare, her cheeks flushing slightly. "You scared me to death." At that moment, the time reached exactly 6 o'clock. A familiar white light instantly enveloped everyone. When the white light dissipated and everyone opened their eyes again, the eternal wilderness had vanished. In its place was an endless expanse of land piled high with scrap metal. Simultaneously, everyone's system interface popped up on time. "Ding, the new zone has officially opened. A total of 100,000 players are participating this time. 1. Effective immediately, all highway driving restrictions are lifted. Players may freely explore any location within the zone. 2. All players must survive in this zone for 7 days. After 7 days, all surviving players will enter the next stage." The cabin instantly fell silent. Everyone instinctively looked out the window. The sky was a dull gray, and the entire world was shrouded in a dim, somber tone. The ground was littered everywhere with the wreckage of abandoned cars, twisted steel bars, and the frames of collapsed factories. "Highway restrictions are lifted." Xu Kexin was the first to react, saying with a look of surprise, "Does that mean we don't have to stay on the highway anymore? We can go wherever we want, boss, what do you think?" The announcement only said to survive for 7 days. Lin Shi frowned, her tone worried. "I get the feeling there's something abnormal about this stage." "So many people," Su Wanwan said softly. "Big brother Wu Di, are we going to run into many other players next?" Wu Di didn't speak, merely scanning his surroundings. Their RV was currently parked on a long-abandoned highway. Scattered along both sides of the road were various scrapped vehicles, stretching all the way to the horizon. "Don't overthink it." Wu Di withdrew his gaze and spoke. "Let's head forward first to get a sense of this area. Xiaoxi, plan the optimal route based on the surrounding road surface marks." "Understood, Commander." Xiaoxi's voice rang out immediately. "Scanning. Detected a large number of vehicle tracks and traces of human activity to the east, suggesting we head eastward." "Holy crap, no way!" Xu Kexin's eyes widened. "There are humans here? They aren't aliens, are they?" Lin Shi and the others also looked out the window in surprise. This was the first time they had encountered humans other than players since entering this survival world. "Xiaoxi, we'll go as you suggested." Wu Di nodded, then turned to Lin Shi and the others. "We'll take it one step at a time. As usual, keep an eye on the communication channel and tell me immediately if there's any abnormality." "Big brother Wu Di, everyone look, the communication channel has changed!" Lin Yue suddenly shouted, her tone filled with shock. Wu Di immediately opened the communication channel. The next second, his pupils constricted slightly. Yesterday, there were nearly 1 billion players in the communication channel, but now the top of the channel clearly displayed current zone online players, 99,457 100ths. "Crap, boss! Does this mean over 500 people have already died just after entering?" Xu Kexin gasped. "It's only been a few seconds. Have we all been separated again?" Lin Shi said softly. "We can't see the players from other zones anymore." Wudi didn't say anything, just quickly scrolled through the messages in the communication channel. The highway really has no restrictions. I just drove straight over a pile of rubble, and nothing happened. Finally don't have to worry about driving off the highway. We're free, brothers. Hurry up and experience this wonderful stage. Have any of you encountered anyone else nearby? Aren't there 100,000 people in this place? Why haven't I seen a single soul? Anyone want to team up? It's too dangerous alone, looking for someone who can fight. Do you think the more people in a team this stage, the greater the danger will be, just like before? Holy crap, you guys definitely won't believe what I saw. There are actually the natives here. Just then, Xiaoxi's voice suddenly rang out, carrying a hint of alertness. Commander, 1,000 meters ahead, an abnormal biological signal has been detected. The signal signature is purely mechanical, non-human. Information has been synced to the center console screen. Everyone's gaze shifted to the center console screen, where the detailed information of the monster was clearly displayed on the left side. Chapter 256, The Nativus. Mechanical Hound. A fully automated patrol and kill unit left over from the military industry of the old era. It has a normal cruising speed of 40 kilometers per hour and can reach a short-distance burst sprint of up to 60 kilometers per hour. It possesses extreme endurance and can continuously track a target for over 50 kilometers. Attack methods: high-speed pounce and bite, alloy claw laceration. Skills: none. Traits: extremely sensitive to moving objects. Weakness: the red energy core in its chest. A single hit can destroy it. On the right side of the screen was a clear real-time transmission. 3 four-legged mechanical hounds, about 1.2 meters tall at the shoulder and nearly 2 meters long, were crouching on a pile of scrap metal not far away. Their shells were dark gray with sharp, clean lines and no superfluous decoration. Their heads were simple mechanical beast structures, and their eyes were 2 dark red energy points that stood out sharply in the dim environment. A row of sharp metal serrated teeth was revealed as their mouths opened and closed, and their entire bodies exuded a bone-chilling sense of slaughter. Commander, shall I activate the 30mm chain gun to kill the targets? Xiaoxi asked. Kill them, Wudi said without hesitation. Received. 30mm chain gun activated, targets locked. The dull thud of the autocannon rang out. Tongues of fire erupted from the muzzle on the RV's roof, as 3 consecutive armor-piercing shells whistled through the air. Bang, bang, bang! 3 explosions sounded almost simultaneously. The shells accurately struck the energy cores in the chests of the 3 mechanical hounds. The 3 hounds were instantly blown into a pile of scattered parts and fell to the ground. The dark red energy points were completely extinguished, and they moved no more. Commander, all targets have been cleared. Get a little closer, Wudi said. The RV slowly drove up to the corpses of the mechanical hounds. Several people pushed open the doors and stepped out one by one. Unlike all the monsters they had encountered before, these mechanical hounds' corpses did not disappear after being killed. Instead, they remained intact on the ground. The area was covered in twisted gears, broken wires, and shattered metal shells, still emitting wisps of black smoke. A pungent smell permeated the air. Shu Kexen kicked a gear on the ground and said with a frown, Strange, why didn't the monsters disappear this time? Su Wanwan tried to activate the system's decomposition function, but she shook her head and said, No, the system indicates that these mechanical remains cannot be decomposed. Big Brother Wudi, do these mechanical dogs have batteries installed? Do they need to eat? Lin Yu asked, tilting her head curiously as she crouched down to poke a metal fragment that still held some residual warmth. Wudi crouched down and picked up a broken metal piece to examine it closely. The material was exceptionally hard, much tougher than ordinary steel. Just as he was about to put it down, he suddenly looked toward the domain space, lost in thought. He remembered that Unit 01 could dismantle and use all metal materials. Since the system couldn't decompose these things, he would collect them first and see if Unit 01 could utilize them once they had power. Thinking of this, Wudi stood up and said, Help me move all of these into the domain space. They might be useful later. Hearing Wudi's words, Lin Shi and Su Wanwan didn't say a word, and began silently collecting the remains on the ground. Shu Kexin and Lin Yu glanced at each other, quickly put down what they were doing, and joined in the hauling. After clearing up all the mechanical remains, the group returned to the cabin. Xiao Shi, continue forward. The RV drove forward steadily for about another 20 minutes. Commander, a human life signal has been detected 1,000 meters to the front left. It is accompanied by the biological signals of 3 mechanical hounds. Xiao Shi's voice suddenly rang out. A human signal? Wu Di was stunned for a moment. Enlarge the image. A clear image immediately appeared on the center console screen. Behind an overturned, abandoned truck, a small figure was hiding. It was a young girl wearing tattered coarse cloth clothes, her hair tangled in a mess, and her face covered in dust and oil. She was shivering as she huddled in the shadow of the truck. 3 mechanical hounds were circling the truck incessantly, emitting low, gear-turning growls and occasionally scratching the truck's iron plating with their claws, creating a piercing, scraping sound. This doesn't look like a player. Shu Kexin's eyes widened as she said loudly, Boss, do you see that? Is this the natives people were talking about in the communication channel? She looks so small, only about 13 or 14 years old. A look of pity appeared on Lin Shi's face. It's very likely. Wu Di nodded, his expression becoming serious. Let's save her first. Xiao Shi, don't use the autocannon. The distance is too close, it's easy to cause collateral damage. Understood. I'll go. Shu Kexin immediately raised the cloud-piercing bow in her hand and said eagerly, It's the perfect time to stretch my muscles. I'm practically growing mold from sitting in the car all this way. I'll go too. Su Wanwan also took out her modified QBZ-95 assault rifle and said softly. Lin Yu and Lin Shi also stood up, their intentions clear without saying a word. Be careful. Wu Di watched the figure on the screen getting closer and spoke in a calm tone. He actually wanted to see if Lin Shi and the others could handle this kind of unexpected situation independently after so much time. The RV slowly approached and stopped about 50 meters from the truck. Shu Kexin and the other 3 got out and crept toward it silently. However, when they were still 20 meters from the truck, the 3 mechanical hounds immediately noticed the movement. They snapped their heads around, their dark red electronic eyes locking onto the 4 figures. They let out a sharp howl and lunged toward the 4 with a burst of power from their limbs. Fire! Shu Kexin shouted, simultaneously drawing her bow and nocking an arrow. Bang! Bang! Su Wanwan was the first to fire, the bullets whistling out. The first shot accurately hit the energy core in the chest of the leading mechanical hound, which instantly froze and fell to the ground. But the second shot missed, grazing the shell of the second hound and leaving only a shallow scratch. Lin Yue and Lin Shi also pulled their triggers at the same time. However, their shooting accuracy was limited. The bullets either hit the ground or the mechanical hound's hard shells, failing to cause any substantial damage. The second mechanical hound had already lunged in front of Lin Yue, opening its large mouth full of metal serrated teeth to bite down on her arm. Watch out! Shu Kexin was quick, grabbing Lin Yue's arm and pulling her behind her. At the same time, the arrow in her hand flew out, but it failed to hit the energy core, instead pinning itself into the hound's front leg. With a crack, the arrow snapped, but the hound also stumbled from the blow and missed its pounce. The third mechanical hound took the opportunity to pounce at Lin Shi. Lin Shi reacted quickly, immediately sidestepping behind a piece of scrap metal. The mechanical hound slammed into the scrap metal with a dull, heavy thud. Su Wanwan took the chance to adjust her aim and fired again. With a bang, the bullet accurately struck the energy core of the second mechanical hound. The hound wobbled and fell to the ground. Only the last mechanical hound remained. It shook its head, crawled out from the pile of scrap metal, let out an angry howl, and suddenly turned to pounce at Shu Kexin. Shu Kexin remained calm and sidestepped its pounce. Simultaneously, she quickly drew her bow and nocked an arrow in a fluid motion. The moment the mechanical hound landed, a sharp arrow shot through the air and accurately pierced the energy core in its chest. The mechanical hound froze in place and then crashed to the ground. Chapter 257, Insufficient Firepower. The entire process took no more than 10 seconds. Although it was a bit messy and Lin Yue had scraped her arm slightly, they ultimately resolved the 3 mechanical hounds without any major mishaps. Wu Di looked at the images on the center console screen and breathed a slight sigh of relief. They had indeed grown a lot. Although their shooting accuracy still needed improvement, at least they knew how to provide cover and cooperate with each other, and they could make the correct evasive maneuvers the moment danger approached. They were no longer the people who needed him to protect them at every moment. The little girl behind the truck heard the commotion and shrank back even tighter in fear, trembling all over while hugging her knees, burying her face deep into her knees, not daring to expose even a sliver of herself. At this moment, Lin Shi walked over slowly and softened her voice. "Don't be afraid. We aren't bad people. We have already killed all the monsters." The little girl hesitated for a long time, her shoulders trembling slightly, before she slowly raised her head. A pair of eyes watched the 4 people in front of her vigilantly, filled with pure fear and unease. Lin Yue flashed a brilliant smile at her, reached out her hand and said, Come with Big Sister. It's not safe here. We will take you to a place without monsters." The little girl looked at Lin Yue's smile, then looked at Xu Kexin and Su Wanwan beside her. After hesitating for a long time, she finally timidly placed her hand into Lin Yu's palm. Lin Yu held her hand and brought her back to the RV. "You must haven't taken a bath in a long time. Come on, Big Sister will take you to wash up and change into some clean clothes." Looking at her body covered in dust and grease, as well as her matted hair, Lin Yu said with a pained heart. The little girl timidly looked at Wu Di, then at Lin Yu, not saying anything, just obediently nodding her head. Lin Yu and Lin Shi took her to the bathroom. More than half an hour later, the 2 of them walked out holding the clean little girl. Everyone's eyes lit up. The washed-up little girl revealed fair skin with delicate features like a doll. Her long eyelashes were damp. She was wearing one of Lin Yue's white t-shirts, which appeared a bit oversized, making her figure look even smaller and thinner. She looked to be only 13 or 14 years old. However, she was still very timid, keeping her head low, her fingers tightly clutching the hem of her shirt, not daring to look at anyone. "What is your name?" Wu Di looked at her and asked, trying to keep his tone as gentle as possible. The little girl raised her head, glanced quickly at Wu Di, and then quickly lowered her head again, saying softly, "My name is Xiaoya." To everyone's surprise, her Mandarin was very standard, her pronunciation was clear, and there were no obstacles in communicating with them. "Xiaoya, you don't need to be afraid," Wu Di said. "We won't hurt you. Can you tell us what place this is?" Xiaoya bit her lip, her long eyelashes trembling gently. She hesitated for a long time. Her lips moved, but in the end, she did not speak, only burying her head lower. At this moment, Xu Kexin gave Lin Yu a wink, then put on a smile that she considered the most amiable, and said, "Little Sister Xiaoya, don't be afraid. Come, Big Sister will take you to see good things. There are lots of delicious food inside, like chocolate, strawberry cookies, and even hot milk." Her tone at this moment was very much like a creepy aunt luring children with candy. After saying this, she stepped forward to hold Xiaoya's other hand and led her towards the entrance of the domain space. Xiaoya did not resist at all, allowing Xu Kexin to lead her, and followed her inside with staggering steps. Lin Shi watched the 2 who had already entered the domain space and turned to Wu Di, saying, "Big brother Wu Di, I'll go in and keep an eye on them." After saying this, she also followed them into the domain space. The vehicle cabin suddenly quieted down, leaving only Wu Di, Lin Yue, and Su Wanwan. At this moment, Xiao Shi's voice suddenly sounded, "Commander, do you need to continue moving forward?" Wu Di collected his thoughts and said, "Xiao Shi, you plan the route for moving forward from here on out. Maintain low-speed travel, and report any abnormal situations immediately." "Understood, Commander." Xiao Shi will continue to scan the surrounding environment. The RV slowly started moving. "Big brother Wu Di, if there are indigenous people here, is it possible that a conflict might arise between us later?" Su Wanwan asked softly, her tone carrying a hint of worry. "We can only take it one step at a time for now," Wudi said, leaning back in his seat. It would be good if Xiaoya could tell us some information. In fact, Wudi knew that a large portion of these players surely viewed the indigenous people of this world as system NPCs, and conflict was just a matter of time. It was just unclear what the indigenous people of this world were actually like, and what their overall strength was. Big Brother Wudi, Xiaoya looks so pitiful, Lin Yu whispered. Don't worry. Wudi looked at Lin Yu, his gaze softening a bit. We are not butchers. As long as they have no malice towards us, we will absolutely not actively harm anyone. He understood Lin Yu. Even after experiencing so much, she still retained pure kindness in her heart. Hearing Wudi say this, Lin Yu immediately smiled. Then I'll go in and see Xiaoya, and bring her something delicious. Wait, Lin Yu, Wudi called out to stop her. First, apply talent amplification to me. Lin Yue was stunned for a moment, then immediately realized what he meant, and hurriedly used talent amplification on Wudi. After applying the amplification, Lin Yu hesitated for a moment, but ultimately entered the domain space. The vehicle cabin became completely quiet. Wudi returned to the driver's seat and looked at the apocalyptic scene outside the window. He took a deep breath, opened his personal space, and his gaze landed on the item that Lin Shi had previously opened from the golden treasure chest. M134 minigun, purple quality. Vehicle-mounted item. 6-barrel rotary machine gun, caliber 7.62 millimeters. Theoretical rate of fire 6,000 rounds per minute. Effective range 1,000 meters. Ammunition capacity 5,000 rounds. Instant firepower, can shred any unarmored target. Installation requirement, level 4 or higher vehicle. Wudi knew clearly. At this stage it was destined to be unavoidable to face a large number of players and indigenous people. There were only 3 shots left for the Heaven's Punishment electromagnetic railgun, and it absolutely could not be used unless it was a last resort. While the 30mm chain gun had decent power, its sustained firepower and coverage area were somewhat insufficient when facing swarms of targets. The important thing was that the 30mm chain gun only had an ammunition reserve of 120 rounds. Although they had previously obtained the blueprint for the 30mm tungsten core armor-piercing shell, the resource demand for this type of ammunition was too high. It was possible that after one battle, their basic resources would shrink by more than half. He needed a weapon that was more powerful, had a longer range, and preferably one that could automatically restore ammunition just like the 30mm chain gun. Thinking of this, Wudi no longer hesitated. With a thought, he activated the Omni Furnace talent. Chapter 258, Type 1130 Close-In Weapon System. Ding. Do you wish to select the M134 minigun as the primary sacrifice, with no secondary sacrifice? Ding. Talent used successfully. Item promoted to Tier 3. Obtained Type 1130 Close-In Weapon System. Red quality. Seeing the promoted to Tier 3 notification, Wudi felt a surge of joy. What he was looking forward to most at this moment was for this new weapon to come with the ability to automatically restore ammunition. He immediately clicked on the item's attribute panel and began to examine it carefully. Type 1130 Close-In Weapon System. Red quality. Vehicle item. Core firepower unit is an 11-barrel 30mm rotary rapid-fire cannon. Theoretical rate of fire is 11,000 rounds per minute. Maximum burst rate of fire can reach 12,100 rounds per minute. Effective interception range is 3,500 meters. Ground fire suppression range is 5,000 meters. Can simultaneously track and lock onto 64 incoming targets, with millisecond-level response to intercept incoming objects up to Mach 4, 360-degree omnidirectional coverage with no blind spots, and an actual combat interception success rate exceeding 99.9%. Comes with 3,000 rounds of armor-piercing shell ammunition. Non-removable, automatically restores to full ammunition status at midnight every day. Must be used with a vehicle radar to achieve fully automatic identification, locking, and interception integrated operation. Installation requirement, level 4 or higher vehicle. Remark, The moment it operates at full power, no threats exist within your line of sight. Looking at the attributes on the panel, Wu Di could not hide his surprise. It was exactly as he had hoped. This weapon came with the ability to automatically restore ammunition daily, and it also used 30mm caliber ammunition. With a 3,000 round capacity, its firepower density, interception capability, and sustained combat capability were all more than an order of magnitude stronger than the previous 30mm chain gun. As for the 30mm tungsten core, armor-piercing shell design blueprint he already possessed, Wu Di had no intention of crafting it. At this rate of fire consumption, the Type 1130 close-in weapon system would exhaust all the materials he had in less than a minute. What a pity, such a long range. After the initial joy, Wu Di couldn't help but frown. Whether it was the previous 30mm chain gun or the Heaven's Punishment electromagnetic railgun, their effective ranges had long exceeded the 1,000-meter limit. However, limited by the current gold quality radar's detection range of only 1,000 meters, the true power of these weapons could not be fully utilized. It seems the radar must be replaced as soon as possible. Wu Di knew clearly that the current gold quality radar could no longer keep up with the upgrade pace of the rest of his equipment. He stopped overthinking and directly selected to install it. Xiaoxi, I've installed a new vehicle weapon for you. Check the compatibility. Received, Commander. Type 1130 close-in weapon system detected and successfully integrated into the vehicle fire control system. Currently, 3 vehicle weapons are loaded, with 1 remaining available loading slot. Xiaoxi, open the real-time feed. What Wu Di was most curious about at this moment was where this rather large weapon system had ended up being installed on the RV. Commander, the image has been synchronized to the center console screen. Su Wanwan, who was beside him, curiously leaned over, her gaze falling onto the center console screen as well. The screen clearly displayed the full view of the RV's roof. At the very front above the cab was still the 30mm chain gun. In the middle rear section was the Heaven's Punishment electromagnetic railgun. And in the middle of the roof between the two, a new integrated rotating turret had been added, with 11 dark gun barrels arranged in a ring, utilizing the space on the entire RV roof to the extreme. Su Wanwan looked at the image on the screen in surprise, her small mouth slightly parted, but in the end, she didn't say a word. Wu Di looked at the RV roof, which was almost completely occupied by the 3 vehicle weapons, and couldn't help but ponder. If he were to upgrade another new piece of equipment, where would it be installed? Before Wu Di could think much further, Shu Kexen suddenly rushed out from the domain space, her face full of excitement, and raised her voice. "Boss, hurry in! Xiaoya is willing to talk." Upon hearing this news, Wu Di immediately stood up, just about to give Su Wanwan a few instructions. Su Wanwan had already spoken first. "Big brother Wu Di, you go ahead. I'll watch things here, and if anything happens, I'll call you immediately." Shu Kexen hesitated for a moment, then patted her chest as well. "Boss, rest assured and go in. Wanwan and I will guard here, and we guarantee to keep our home safe." Wu Di didn't pay attention to Shu Kexen's unreliable words, nodded, and stepped into the domain space. As soon as he entered the domain space, Wu Di noticed that Lin Shi, Lin Yue, and the native Xiao Ya were sitting cross-legged under the shade of the World Tree. Xiao Ya was sitting tightly against Lin Yue, her small body still a bit reserved, while Lin Shi was sitting not far from their side, holding a bottle of milk, looking at Xiao Ya gently. In front of Xiao Ya was a small mountain of various snacks, including chocolates, biscuits, and potato chips obtained from previous unboxings, as well as various canned goods and drinks purchased from the safe zone, an eye-catching array. Wu Di slowed his pace, walked to Lin Shi's side, and sat down cross-legged. Xiaoya was originally stuffing chocolate into her mouth, but upon seeing Wu Di approach, the hand holding the chocolate noticeably paused, and her small body subconsciously shrank towards Lin Yu. "Xiaoya, don't be afraid." Lin Yu hurriedly patted her back and said with a smile, "Big brother Wu Di is a good person and won't hurt you." She paused and then jokingly added, Xiaoya, you can call him uncle. After saying this, she chuckled to herself first. Wu Di didn't mind Lin Yu's joke and just looked at Xiaoya. He could clearly feel that Xiaoya still had significant wariness towards him. He softened his voice and asked gently, Xiaoya, can you tell us what place this is? Xiaoya looked up at Wu Di, then timidly glanced at Lin Shi and Lin Yue beside her. Her long eyelashes trembled slightly, and finally she summoned her courage and slowly opened her mouth. Half a day later, Wu Di had returned to the driver's seat of the RV. He looked out the car window, his mind still constantly replaying everything Xiaoya had said. According to Xiaoya's account, the continent they were currently on was ruled by the Great Qian Empire, and their current location was an area known as the Scavenger Plains, located in the far east of the entire continent. As for how big this continent was, and where its borders were, Xiaoya, who had lived in the Scavenger Alliance since she was a child, did not know. She belonged to the Scavenger Alliance and had come out with the Alliance's caravan to collect supplies. On the way, they encountered a pack of mechanical hounds, and in the chaos, she got separated from the main group, which is why she was trapped at the abandoned truck earlier. Chapter 259. Camouflage. Wu Di knew in his heart that Xiaoya was definitely still hiding something and hadn't told him everything. But none of that was important. At least he finally understood the basic situation of this area and was no longer completely in the dark. Among the information Xiaoya provided, the most important point was that not far to the south of their current location, there was a permanent settlement of the Scavenger Alliance, which was also the largest indigenous stronghold on the Scavenger Plains. At this moment, Zhu Kexin, who had been paying attention to Wu Di's expression, finally couldn't help but speak up. Boss, if there's something bothering you, just say it. Maybe we can help you brainstorm. Keeping it all bottled up like this is making me anxious. Wu Di snapped out of it, looked at Zhu Kexin, then glanced at Su Wanwan beside her, and immediately instructed Xiao Shi. Xiao Shi, stop the car. Received, Commander. After the RV slowly came to a steady stop, Wu Di turned back to Zhu Kexin and Su Wanwan and asked, What do you think? Do we need to take the initiative to contact these indigenous people now? Big Brother Wu Di, I was just looking at the communication channel. Quite a few players have encountered the indigenous people, and many have already died. I just don't know if it's because of conflicts with them, Su Wanwan said softly, her tone laced with a hint of worry. Hearing Su Wanwan's words, Wu Di paused for a moment before clicking on the communication channel. The online player count in the top right corner had strikingly changed to 84,533 100,000ths. Wu Di's gaze fixed on that number, ignoring the dense messages in the channel. Less than half a day after entering the new area, nearly 15,000 people had already been lost. There were a full 7 days of survival time, and this was just the beginning. By the end, how many people would actually survive? Boss, I think regardless of whether we contact them or not, we should at least go take a look at that settlement Xiaoya mentioned, Zhu Kexin said. She had already learned everything Xiaoya said through the team channel. At the very least, we should get a handle on the situation so we have some idea of what's going on. It's better than us just guessing blindly here. Su Wanwan nodded in agreement with Zhu Kexin's words. Wu Di pondered for a moment and ultimately felt that Zhu Kexin made a lot of sense. Xiao Shi, drive south at a speed of 60 kilometers per hour and continuously scan for signs of human activity in the vicinity. Received, Commander. Southern route planned. Xiao Shi will continuously scan the surrounding environment, adjust the direction of travel, and monitor for all abnormal signals. By the way, Xiao Shi, camouflage the appearance of the RV, just change it to match the style of the indigenous people here. Wu Di suddenly thought of something and added. The exterior of their RV was far too eye-catching in this world filled with an apocalyptic atmosphere. Previously, they had used holographic phantom camouflage to hide the weapon systems and armor structure, but now they needed to blend into the environment completely. Commander, the RV's exterior camouflage is complete. Relevant information has been synchronized to the center console screen. The group immediately looked toward the center console screen. On the screen, the originally silver-gray sleek RV had completely changed its appearance. The holographic Phantom system had disguised it as an ordinary pickup truck. The body shell was covered in scratches, and the overall style was rugged cyber wasteland. "Boss, you really know how to play the pig to eat the tiger." Zhu Kexin's eyes lit up as she watched. If some short-sighted player or local comes looking for trouble and sees this junker, only for a whole carload of people to jump out and all these gun barrels to suddenly pop up, won't they be scared silly on the spot? At this point, Zhu Kexin suddenly started giggling. Su Wanwan looked at her helplessly, but Zhu Kexin laughed even harder, leaning in close to Su Wanwan and saying, "Wanwan say, if we run into someone blind enough to mess with us, and our junker suddenly opens fire, do you think it'll just break their brains?" After speaking, she looked at the unresponsive Wu Dai and curled her lip. "Boss, you're so lacking in romance. You're never going to have a girlfriend in the future." She then glanced at Su Wanwan and waved her hand. Forget it, I'm just a third wheel. There are so many fine cabbages waiting for you to pick them." Su Wanwan's cheeks flushed bright red at Zhu Kexin's words, and she retorted in a small voice, "Sister Zhu, we have turrets. The enemies won't be able to get close." Wudi ignored Zhu Kexin's wild talk and turned his gaze back out the window. He was currently thinking about another more crucial question. In this world, where should they go to obtain truly useful resources? Although humans survived in this world, and basic supplies like food, water, and even fuel could likely be obtained, Xiao Ya hadn't gone into detail about the current technological level of this world. What could players like them actually gain from it? Especially for him, resources like ordinary metal and fuel were now almost useless. He watched the abandoned buildings and scrapped vehicles passing by outside the window, feeling that leaving all this scrap metal lying around was a terrible waste. If only I could activate Unit 01 now, Wudi thought silently to himself. Just then he heard Zhu Kexin's surprised voice again. "Holy crap! Boss, did you secretly upgrade our gear again? This Lu Dun 1130 close-in weapon system looks way too cool. Damn, over 10,000 rounds a minute. If someone gets locked onto, they'll be turned into a sieve in seconds." Wudi looked at the approaching Zhu Kexin with a headache. Finally, he reached out and gave her cheek a hard pinch. "How about you go inside and stay with Xiaoya and the others, so you can stop being so noisy here?" Zhu Kexin didn't mind at all. Covering her pinched cheek, she laughed even harder. "Boss, you can't just pinch my face. Wanwan is waiting for you to pinch hers too, hey? After saying that, she scurried off into the domain space. Wu Di looked at Su Wanwan in the passenger seat. The girl's cheeks were still flushed. Her gaze seemed to be on the window, but her peripheral vision was clearly fixed on him. Finding it amusing, Wu Di teased her intentionally. "How about I give you a pinch too?" Su Wanwan's face instantly turned even redder. She whipped her head around to look at Wu Di, her lips moving, but in the end, she couldn't get a single word out. Wu Di shook his head helplessly, but before he could speak, Xiaoxi's voice suddenly rang out. "Commander, 4 biological signals have been detected in an abandoned factory 1,000 meters ahead. Suspected indigenous people. Relevant footage has been synchronized to the center console screen." Wu Di and Su Wanwan immediately put aside their playful thoughts, their gazes snapping in unison toward the center console screen. Chapter 260, Contact with the Natives. The center console screen clearly displayed the scene, inside a half-collapsed abandoned machinery factory. 4 natives were scattered about, heads bowed as they scavenged for metal parts and usable supplies on the ground. These 4 individuals consisted of 3 men and 1 woman, all possessing standard Asian features. Their faces were stained with grease and dust, and they wore worn, shiny, durable, coarse cloth work clothes. They all had short knives and firearms tucked into their waists. Their movements were skilled and vigilant. Before bending down to pick up any parts, they would first scan their surroundings. At the entrance of the factory, a rugged-looking 4-wheeled vehicle was parked. Its body was welded with heavy steel plates, and the front was equipped with a sharp collision ram. The body was covered in exposed pipes and mechanical structures, and the tires were stained with dried mud and rust, carrying a distinct cyberpunk wasteland style that shared a similar rough texture to their disguised pickup truck. Wu Di's gaze fell first upon the firearms tucked into their waists. They were several extremely rugged-looking firearms. "Xiaoxi, can you analyze their weapons?" Wu Di asked softly. "Commander, according to the video image analysis, this weapon is a traditional gunpowder-powered weapon. Based on the barrel length and rifling structure, its base power is similar to a traditional standard-issue rifle from Blue Star. The rest of the internal structure cannot be analyzed through the image, and the specific combat power is currently undetermined." Hearing Xiaoxi's words, Wu Di secretly breathed a sigh of relief. As long as they were traditional gunpowder weapons, nothing exceeded his expectations. This level of weaponry posed absolutely no threat to them. "Xiaoxi, adjust the vehicle's holographic disguise to match the style of their vehicle exactly, and drive over," Wu Di immediately ordered. He wanted to use this opportunity to complete his first official contact with the natives and figure out the ins and outs of this world. "Received, Commander. The disguise has been adjusted accordingly." The RV drove silently toward the abandoned factory, without emitting a single roar from its engine, sliding over the gravel road like a ghost. In just over 10 seconds, it arrived at the factory entrance and came to a steady stop about 20 meters away from the four people. The four people inside the factory finally noticed the movement. They jerked their heads up, their bodies instantly tensing as they entered a state of alert. The three men immediately stepped forward, shielding the only woman behind them, while simultaneously whipping out the firearms from their waists and aiming them in unison at the RV at the entrance. When they saw that the RV's appearance was almost identical in style to their own vehicle, the vigilance on their faces eased slightly, but their fingers remained tightly hooked on the trigger guards, with no intention of lowering their weapons. But the next second, when they saw the RV door open and Wu Di and Su Wanwan step out, the vigilance that had just faded instantly returned to its peak. Their fingers clamped directly onto the triggers, and the gun barrels locked onto the two of them. The two people before them were simply too out of place. Wu Di and Su Wanwan both had fair skin and were dressed in clean, tidy clothes without a speck of dust or grease. There wasn't even a trace of weathering on their faces. From head to toe, neither of them looked anything like scavengers. Compared to this wasteland and the people themselves, they seemed to be from two different worlds. "Who are you?" The tall man leading them shouted sternly. He had a scar on his left face that ran from his brow bone to his jaw, and his voice was hoarse, filled with deep wariness. "Big brother, don't waste your breath on them." The short, stocky man beside him immediately shouted, pushing his gun barrel forward. "Look at them. They must be dogs from the Survivor Council. Those people never come to such trashy places. They definitely have bad intentions coming here this time. I say we either blast them right here, or tie them up and take them back to the Alliance for disposal." "That's not right." The woman shielded behind them frowned and spoke up. Her gaze swept over the RV at the entrance before falling back onto Wu Di and his companion. "People from the Survivor Council would never drive this kind of vehicle. Who exactly are you?" Listening to their words, Wu Di quickly sorted through the information in his mind while remaining calm on the surface. He had already prepared his speech and spoke slowly. "We mean no harm. We are just passing through and would like to have a peaceful conversation with you to understand the situation in this area." As soon as these words were spoken, the eyes of the four people opposite became even more vigilant, even carrying undisguised hostility. "Peaceful conversation?" The scarred man sneered, his finger already applying slight pressure. "We scavengers never believe in peaceful conversation. If you aren't from the Alliance, then you're scum from the Survivor Council. Take another step forward, and don't blame us for being ruthless with our guns." Seeing their hostility on the verge of erupting, Wu Di knew clearly that the path of peaceful communication was not going to work now. Just as the scarred man's finger was about to pull the trigger, Wu Di moved. His figure almost turned into an afterimage, leaving only a faint phantom where he had stood. In the blink of an eye, he rushed in front of the four people. The four of them didn't even see his movements clearly. They only felt a blur before their eyes, followed by a sharp pain in the back of their necks. Everything went black, and before they even had a chance to fire, They all collapsed to the ground in unison, completely knocked unconscious. The entire process took less than half a second. Su Wanwan stood where she was, watching the 4 people collapse instantly, and was stunned for a moment. Although she knew Wu Di's strength was formidable, she hadn't expected him to resolve the problem in such a direct manner. However, Wu Di was frowning at this moment, standing in place with his gaze fixed on the 4 unconscious scavengers, his expression somewhat heavy. "Big brother Wu Di, what's wrong?" Su Wanwan hurried over, looking at his grave expression, and asked in a low voice. "These people's physique attributes are not normal." Wu Di spoke slowly, his tone carrying a hint of surprise. Su Wanwan didn't react in time and looked at him with some confusion. "Their physique attributes are definitely over 20. Wu Di crouched down and reached out to press the arm muscles of one of the men. Their reaction speed and the tension of their muscles far exceed the limits of ordinary humans. Go find some high-strength metal wire and tie their hands and feet up." Wu Di stood up and said to Su Wanwan, "Okay." Su Wanwan nodded immediately and walked away quickly. Wu Di bent down and picked up the firearm that had fallen to the ground. Previously, looking at it on the center console screen, he only thought the gun had a primitive and rugged design. Now, holding it in his hand, he felt that it had considerable weight. The welded joints on the gun body were seamless and polished very smoothly. It was clearly a high-quality piece crafted by hand, without any traces of shoddy workmanship. With a thought, he attempted to store the gun into his personal space. To his surprise, this handcrafted rifle was actually recognized by the system and successfully stored into his personal space.